million. Wimbledon yesterday, you had two big upsets, both on the women's side, as Jessie Pegula fell early yesterday morning, and Coco Gauff also losing yesterday in the first round at Wimbledon. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
We should do the show outside. We need to get some sort of veranda built or some sort of... Just sit outside. Think how good the show would be if we could just sit on a patio overlooking a putting green and just do it from there. Outside, cup of coffee, sun's coming up.
Give me some birds chirping in the background. Should be some good show sound.
How many bird calls do you know?
Oh, no, I'm going to be bad at this.
None.
I
know a cardinal. I can tell you a cardinal. In fact, sometimes in my backyard, I whistle back to the Cardinals, and I tell myself in my head that we are talking. Yeah.
The Cardinals probably like this. Look at this idiot. He isn't Cardinal.
Look at this idiot. They respond.
He's yelling at you that you don't actually speak Cardinal.
I recognize your accent.
You're listening to Jeremy and Joe on Western New York Sports Giant, WGR Sports Radio 550.
I think I heard Aaron Menkowski on BEN today say today will be like the nicest day of the year.
The nicest day of the
not
year.
Not too hot? Yeah. Possibly the nicest day of the year today. High of 81.
That'll be in his... Nicest seems like that's a subjective term.
Yeah. I mean, subjective. I don't know. Would anybody say 12 degrees and 38 mile an hour winds would be nice?
No. I mean... No, I wouldn't even go. I wouldn't even go that far. I don't know. Real feel of 87 today.
That's not bad. I like an 87, depending on what you're doing.
Not bad though. Is not what you want for best day of the year.
Oh, that's
Although
right.
he's probably 79 and sunny.
I forget. We have that one open of you saying 68 degrees with no clouds or something. You've got a You've got a specific time and everything. Well, it's 64 right now.
I guess humidity's not as high today, so I'll take that. That sounds pretty amazing.
You should pick the nicest minute of the year. Spend time outside and just tell everyone. Ooh,
record outside for a minute.
This is it. I think we're into it.
Yeah, just finger to the sky, like this is it right here.
The breeze kicks up. You're like, cancel, reset.
If it's a gentle breeze, then that's still fine. But it's got to be gentle.
I was thinking about.
But it's going to be beautiful today.
Yes, it is,
79 and sunny. You're not going to complain.
The June was great. Here we are in July. I mean, the start of July has been great. Brian Mazurowski was talking about how this week might be the week we talk about for the summer in terms of how nice it's been all week. It was beautiful out last night. We went to a concert. Fleetwood Mac cover band was playing at Bidwell Parkway. We went to that.
Nice.
Which was great. You know, Fleetwood Mac.
Love Fleetwood
Timeless.
Mac. Yeah.
I didn't catch their name. I forget what their name was. Someone will write it in. Anyway, it was a great time. Sit out on picnic blankets, play catch with the kids, hang out, yada, yada, yada. So it's great this time of year. It's also light out late.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're hanging out outside like, holy cow. In fact, to that point, I saw Brayton Wilson from WBEN. He's in Iceland right now.
Okay.
Brayton from WGR.
Yeah,
also.
right.
And he took a picture last night at 12:30 in the morning, and it was about this light like it is right now here in Amherst.
Okay.
Which, if you've never experienced that, I did that in Alaska, where
it's like light almost the entire day.
Oh,
or
the
the
sun
whole day.
goes down, but it does not get dark.
Yeah.
In some places, the sun doesn't go down. Where I was in Alaska, when the sun went down, it got to about where it is right now. And
which is, it's like a sunrise kind of. Like,
yeah,
but for
just barely dusk and dawn. And when I was there, it was 1 a.m., and you would never have known it was even nighttime. So
okay,
that's kind of cool. It's the kind of thing that if you can ever experience that, it's pretty cool. It's wild.
I think my knowledge of being sunlight all the time is from the Ryan Reynolds movie, The Proposal, which is in Alaska, because they had the blackout curtains in their house.
Yeah.
And I always remembered that for some reason. Just because it just didn't get dark, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was like re-cleaning our grill. We have like a flat top grill, and was in no rush because it's not even, it's dinner time, but we still got time. It was so light out. You ever just not look at your watch for a long enough time where you just kind of You just think, like, okay, it must be 6 o'clock. It was 8 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I got to make food work right now. It's already way too late. And that was just because it felt like it was just the sun doesn't go down until 9:30 right now.
Yeah,
perfect.
That experience was what I had when I was in Alaska. We're all sitting around a fire. What time is it? I don't know, like
you wouldn't know
9
unless you're
p.m.,
looking.
10 p.m. Oh, it's 1.
See, that place seems more like it's just, we don't live by the clock.
Yeah, you kind of got to. You can't just live by what it looks like outside.
No, because you would be
no
very
idea.
confused all the time.
Yeah, you'd have no idea. Flat top grill. Is it worth it? Is it worth it as an extra grill? Isn't everybody out there that's got grills? I've got the smoker. I've got the regular grill.
Mm-hmm.
If I go 3 grills wide in the backyard, that seems like it's excessive, and it's not the kind of thing I'm going to want to do. But I am looking at them, and I'm tempted.
Yeah, I've had one for almost 2 years now, maybe a little under 2 years, and there are positives and negatives to it. Now, I don't have a regular grill.
Okay.
We got rid of our regular grill when we got this grill. Like, well, this grill can do everything. And it pretty much can. It's not great for hot dogs, right? Like, if you just want to whip up some dogs on the grill, it's not great for that because they're going to be more, they'll still cook, but it's not the same. But they're amazing for burgers, whatever. It's 10 times the maintenance, I would say, that a regular grill is.
Really? Because you got to scrape it?
10 times. You got to scrape it after every use. You've got it, or it could rust a little bit. You've got to re-season it a few times a year, at least, maybe probably even more than that. It probably should be, which is basically just you scrub the you-know-what out of it, and then you burn oil basically on it, and you just olive oil, whatever, and you spread that around. You let it burn for 10 minutes, and then you do that again. Let it burn for another 10 minutes. More oil, another 10 minutes. It's like an hour process of cleaning and re-seasoning it. Like, you probably should do it once a month. I think I end up doing it more every other month.
Really?
So it's that part of it. It's like you're putting more love into it.
Well, you've talked me right out of one.
But, you are, you just vegetables on one side of the grill with the meat on the other side of the grill. Breakfast is great. Eggs on one side, bacon and sausage on the other. We made pancakes on there. Yesterday we made, smash burger tacos, something, where we just put the meat on the shell and then smash it on it. You could do a lot more stuff with it.
Yeah. Well, the thing I picture when I see the flat top is a smash burger. That's the number one thing I picture.
Yes.
And eggs, I guess eggs, bacon, that kind of stuff. I guess that makes sense.
Although you're not doing the eggs part.
Nope, never making eggs. So
pancakes, though, is very good on
pancakes. We've got a griddle inside. I feel like, pancakes outside, is that an extra layer of fun? Is it different?
For some reason, when you put it like that, it's like, I guess it's kind of the same. Right. But no, it's nice to be outside in the morning when you're making breakfast.
Sure, fair. All right, good enough. I've got a cast iron that we've never used yet. My wife got me a cast iron. It goes over top of an actual fire. Yeah. And that's got the same kind of thing you're talking about. You have to season it and do all that.
Yes.
And we just have not yet used it. So someday. And the idea there was for, steaks in the morning or something like that, but have never gotten around to it. The regular grill, just, the old standard grill grates, is that the least maintenance you need in your entire life?
Pretty much.
That thing will work no matter what.
Just use the brush once in a while, right? If even.
Brush it off,
and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that part I do miss a little bit. It's just because yesterday, again, I take the grill out to make dinner, and it's the grill probably needs some love. Whereas if I just had a regular great grill, that wouldn't have been a conversation. Right. You just turn it on,
right? Fire
it up, let's go, and that's pretty much it. So you got to put more love into it. And I do miss the flipping the dogs on a regular grill. We really should get at least a small one.
What do you just roll them a little bit?
They're closer to a roller dog,
sure.
I would say, on the flat top than obviously with the regular grill. So
I still think the main thing stopping me from getting one is I cannot go 3 grills wide on the patio.
That's a lot of grills.
That's a lot of cubic feet. And
committed to just cooking.
Yes.
It's basically another kitchen outside at that point.
Yeah. Because they've got the smoker and they've got the regular.
If you look, there are, unless this is kind of what you just described, I know cast iron pan would be different, but there are like, I think there are flat top extras you could kind of put on top of your regular grill, and you could do that.
Okay.
I think those exist.
Like the grates come off and the flat goes on?
Yeah, or maybe even you could put the flat on top of the grates.
Probably. That's just like a griddle.
Pretty much, yeah. It's some version of that, so you might be able to do it without getting like a big, giant flat top grill.
Gotcha.
So the original question of is it worth it? I would lean yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't be like a heavy yes, but I would lean yes that it is worth it. Yeah.
Good to know. 803-0550 if you want to talk about flat top grills.
It's grill season.
It is grill season, of
Everyone
course.
should be grilling today.
Yeah, it's a great
grill
one of the
day.
nicest days of the year. Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast at 8 o'clock. We'll mix in some Bills today. We are 3 weeks from the start of training camp. It starts 3 weeks from today. That's the first practice. And rookies report long before that. So, football season is really getting close. Bills rookie, I'm going to find the rookie report date. I know that it's usually like 6 days before.
So is it like 17th?
The Bills rookie, so 23rd is the first practice. And for rookies, it might even be like, whatever. I had it. I lost the page. I'll find it. So we're getting closer. And the Hall of Fame game is on the 31st. So we've got football to get to today with Joe Marino. He has the Bills all-quarter century team he put out.
Nice.
And he and I chatted about it and disagreed on one very, very big name that'll be fun to kick around. So we've got that. Sabres and free agency. I think listening to the afternoon show yesterday, I realized that I was the one that made a mistake yesterday because every single year these days are bad days. They are not good days to be a fan of the Sabres because they are not really involved. They have been a couple times, but usually they're not involved. They're signing low-level guys. Yesterday they signed more players to Rochester than anywhere else.
It's a big day for Rochester.
A big day for Rochester.
It usually ends up being a big Rochester day.
Yeah. Look at all these guys that, they take a picture of them in one of their NHL uniforms, and that guy's in Rochester right away. Like,
right.
Oh, who's this? Oh, Rochester.
I saw that yesterday. That's how I learned about Gearston that they had signed. I saw the tweet in I think it was a Devils uniform.
Okay, I saw him in a Vegas uniform.
Okay, and then I pulled up the stat sheet and he has 0 career NHL points. Okay, I guess this is an Amerks guy.
Yeah,
I hope.
Mason Geertsen. I thought I saw him in a Golden Knights uniform.
Could have been like a that could have been preseason.
Could have been anything.
Could have been development camp.
Yeah. The Sabres release had him in a Golden Knights uniform.
Okay.
So, all right, Rochester gets a bunch. The Sabres do get Alex Lyon. They extend Ryan McLeod, and they trade Sam Lafferty, and we just kind of wait on the Bo Byram news. So, if that happens, if they trade him.
Which there's 2 things happening with them right now that are a little bit curious. One, how close are they actually going to be to the salary cap? Because right now they are at $12.8 million.
Away from the cap?
Away from the cap. And RFA's left to sign Byram, Timmins, Levi. They could trade Byram for some guy who makes $2 million a year or draft picks, and then you're still $6-7 million below the cap. But if I saw yesterday that Byram's projected contract is like $7.2 million on like a 2-year deal. If they sign Byram to something around $7 million, and then Levi and Timmins get a million or 2 each, I mean they're gonna be up against the cap if they either pay Byram or get someone that makes the equivalent of Bo Byram. Unless, will they dump Samuelson? Will they clear space somewhere else because they're not going to be a cap team this year? Because I'm just looking at it they're going to end up there. If they do the status quo, they're probably going to end up $1 million or 2 from the cap.
Yeah.
Which is way closer to it than they ever have been. It won't really feel that satisfying, though, because they didn't get to the cap by going out and being aggressive. And yesterday, it's Alex Lyon and Danforth, a 4th liner from Columbus. It'll be they just paid their own guys. And in some instances, with Jack Quinn, they probably paid them double what they probably should have got. And that helps you get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So There's the cap part of it, and then there's the fact that they have, like, Puckpedia lists them with 14 forwards right now already for the NHL roster. And I still need 2 guys in the top 6. Not getting 2 guys in the top 6. Can I get 1 guy in the top 6? If I get 1 guy in the top 6, I feel like someone's got to go. And is that Krebs? Is that... It's not. They just signed this Danforth guy. Is it going to be... They just got Josh Stone. Like, who is it? Is it Malenstein? Maybe it's a 4th liner like that and it doesn't matter. Or is it like Benson in a trade? Because right now there are... Like, they could go to opening night right now with what they have.
Just based on numbers.
Based on volume of players.
Numbers.
They could go to opening night if they don't want to do anything else. And maybe they won't do anything else.
The one thing about them being near the cap, like let's say they finish out, they're within... I'll be impressed if they're within $7 million of the cap, $5 million of the cap, because it went up. Last year, they left a lot of money on the table that could have signed them a good player. Maybe they couldn't find that player. They couldn't get a guy to take that money. But it kind of changes the tone on Pagula versus Adams. If they're up against the cap and still not good, then it shifts
Could look worse.
Yeah, then it shifts a little bit from the owner won't spend, which people think there's an internal budget. All of a sudden, oh, here you go to the spend of the cap. All right, you finish with 78 points again. Wow, you're spending all that money and you're still not good?
Right.
That's kind of troubling in its own right. So,
it could. I mean, I would appreciate them actually showing a willingness to spend.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be... I think it's better if you're going to have 78 points one way or another. I feel like it feels like you're trying harder if you are spending to the cap rather than if I had $12 million in space.
I don't disagree, but the point would be the GM is not doing a good job.
It would look
to be up against.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, to be up against the cap and bad.
It might look better for. It might look a little better for Pagula, but it might look worse for Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I've been operating for a while, and this is kind of the way that it works with the Buffalo Sabres. And going back before this ownership group, well, the GM has limitations. I was thinking about Darcy Regier a lot yesterday because the old meme, do something Darcy, where the figure is poking the Sabres with a stick.
Yeah.
I saw Matt Bove tweet that out, like, do something Darcy. And I thought, Darcy was the GM for a long time, and he always had built-in limitations. First, he had the Sabres were but first there was no salary cap.
Right.
You'd have the Sabres' entire roster was $28 million, and the Rangers would roll in with a $70 million roster.
Yeah.
It used to be there was no cap, and the Sabres were competitive for a lot of that. Dominik Hasek did a lot of that. Then they get a cap, and Darcy fields a good team, and what happens to it? This is part of July 1st's lore. That owner didn't want to spend money. He didn't want to commit long-term, so Darcy's team fell apart because they wouldn't pay Briere and they wouldn't pay Drury what they were really worth. And then Campbell, and then on and on. Like that team fell apart because ownership wouldn't commit. And Tom Golisano, at least that's how I remember it.
Your 2 best centers and your best defenseman walked just because of money.
Yeah. You didn't want to pay him. You wouldn't pay the market rate. So it's been a normal thing to just point out, well, the owner isn't going to go all in for what the GM wants. And then when Terry Pagula bought the team, it felt like for the first time ever, they'll have a guy that does. And if they're up against the cap this year, then I know there are other ways they can spend money, other ways they can invest, infrastructure, whatever. But if they're up against the cap this year, I feel like I have to put that further aside and lean further into what is the GM doing with this. You have the space, you have the room. So We'll see. The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have They've won. They have Dahlin is the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11. But guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high-spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have, they only have the one. They have Dahlin, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million+. Greenway, Tuch, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Like that's kind of how I feel like the Sabres are built money wise. Even Quinn at 3.3. They have 3 defensemen that make 4+, Samuelson being one of them. Like, it's those middle-tier contracts, I think, Luukkonen, that pull them up a little bit higher. Which, how does that feel? Because that's not, whenever it's been, man, spend to the cap. Like, look at all this extra space. It's, well, go use that on a great player. And they've kind of ended up using it on guys that are pretty good.
Yeah.
At best, pretty good. I mean, some of them, like Samuelson, you don't even want on the team anymore, I don't think. So, I don't know, like, and they still have to do it. They're not there right now. They're $13 million. This will really make it clear, I think, if they are a cap team or if they are about a team that's going to show, oh, yeah, we have an internal budget. If they trade Byram and get a player that doesn't make anything, I think that's This is why you acquired this player.
Like an underwhelming trade of a guy that doesn't make anything. Because if it's a guy that's,
sure, right.
2 years in and he's an RFA next year, that could be a little different.
If they get a first-round pick and a prospect, or a first-round pick and a young player that is not really someone else's version of Jack Quinn, maybe. Like, he hasn't been that, he's been pretty disappointing so far. That's going to be looked at as, oh, you did that because you have an internal budget. Especially after months of saying, yeah, we have no interest in your picks and prospects. But if they trade Byram for, I guess, Jordan Kyrou, that's done, right? Because he's got full no movement clause. So you're not getting that done. But if you go trade for someone like that, if you go get a legit top 6 player, you're paying $7 million, I think, ish per year or more, and then you're there. You're at the salary cap. But they still have to add a player like that, or they have to pay Byram, which I guess they could just say, we don't like the market, let's give Byram a $7 million deal on 1 year.
That just seems, well, on 1 year, I suppose, but that just seems unlikely to me. I guess they could for 1 year. Do they have to, though? Like, what's the incentive to pay Byram for that 1 year? You could just, what?
Well, he's got to sign it, right?
If he wants to play, isn't this the spot where you have all the leverage and he has none? To a point?
To a point. He has about as much leverage as Purka did. But for him, maybe he'd be more willing to play on a short-term deal. I mean, it could be about the Sabres, too. Have the Sabres given any indication that they believe Bo Byram is some core piece that just wants to leave? This one's always felt more mutual.
Yeah.
That he wants a bigger role, and they're not so sure he's good enough to be a core piece. So everyone's kind of okay with moving on, which, if that's the case, is the trade's not really out there 1 year. Is that really that big a problem for all parties involved? Maybe for Byram it would be. But I don't know. I feel like 1 year deal is the second most likely outcome after a trade. You wouldn't say a long-term deal is the second most likely, would you? I mean, a long-term deal feels like that's not in the cards at all.
Yeah, I think that's unlikely.
Like that to me, I would be stunned if that happened. But if he signed a 1 year deal because the trade market's not there, like I think that's possible.
8030550. Alex Lyon and the trade of Purka. That's your offseason so far. We'll see if the Byram thing comes. We've got a couple teams in on it. Calgary is reportedly in on it. The Kings were, but might be out.
They signed 2 defensemen.
I'd been told about the Rangers for a long time to watch the Rangers. The Rangers signed Gavrikov. They also traded away Keandre Miller. So
they were about to get offer sheeted. So.
Yeah, that's right. So nice to see offer sheets still out there.
Yeah. We didn't get it officially,
No.
but everyone
We still could.
everyone said like this only happened because Carolina was they were ready to do it. They were going to do it.
And the Rangers said, why don't we just trade assets that we can agree on?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
803-0550. If you want to give us a call, we'd be happy to have you. The nicest day of the year. That's what some are saying about today. If we just keep saying it, maybe more people will say it. It's going to be beautiful today, so enjoy it. It's a Wednesday. Happy hump day on a short week with July 4th coming up on Friday. And we'll take your calls on the Sabres offseason, continue tracking how things are going, and, talk 3 grills wide, maybe a little bit.
People are sending me grill accessories.
Oh, for the flat top?
For the flat top, to make the flat top into something with the grates I could put the dogs on, but I'm very skeptical. That's going to be the same.
Interesting. So you can convert a flat top back to the grill grate.
Right.
Can I go a grill grate with a flat top and then a grill grate on top of that?
No, it's too early for this puzzle.
It's like a double pass through or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's too early. All right, it's Jeremy and Joe on WGR. The one thing about them being near the cap, like let's say they finish out, they're within. I'll be impressed if they're within $7 million of the cap, $5 million of the cap, because it went up. Last year they left a lot of money on the table that could have signed them a good player. Maybe they couldn't find that player. They couldn't get a guy to take that money. But it kind of changes the tone on Pagula versus Adams. If they're up against the cap and still not good. Then it shifts
Could look worse.
Yeah, then it shifts a little bit from the owner won't spend, which people think there's an internal budget. All of a sudden, here you go to spend of the cap. All right, you finish with 78 points again. Wow, you're spending all that money and you're still not good?
Right.
That's kind of troubling in its own right. So,
it could. I mean, I would appreciate them actually showing a willingness to spend.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it's better if you're going to have 78 points one way or another. I feel like it feels like you're trying harder if you are spending to the cap rather than if I had $12 million in space.
I don't disagree, but the point would be that the GM is not doing a good job.
It would look
to be up against.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, to be up against the cap and bad.
It might look better for. It might look a little better for Pagula, but it might look worse for Adams.
Yeah. The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like, they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like, I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Dahlin as the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11, but guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Dahlin, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million plus. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Day one of free agency in the NHL. For the Sabres, their biggest move was keeping one of their own. Ryan McLeod, who was an RFA, signs for 4 years, $5 million per year after a career year with 20 goals and 53 points. Sabres signed goalie Alex Lyon, formerly the Red Wings and the Panthers, 2-year deal, $1.5 million per year. They also signed a fourth liner from Columbus, Justin Danforth. That's a 2-year deal, $1.8 million for him. A couple of other AHL signings that you can read about on our website, WGR550.com. In football, Darren Waller is coming out of retirement. The tight end's been traded from the Giants to the Dolphins. He'll replace Jonnu Smith in Miami. Waller did not play in the NFL last season. In tennis, Coco Gauff and Jesse Pegula were upset in the first round of Wimbledon yesterday. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Ryan hasn't seen many pucks in the second period. Chance here. Oh, Ryan with a great save. He was down, but he robbed Cole Caulfield.
Alex Lyon, newest Buffalo Sabre, 2-year deal for him. Couple quick NFL things for you, and we'll get back to the Sabres and July 1st and all that. But 2 things on the NFL. One, I saw the number 98 and 97 players. So the NFL Top 100 is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's slipping by you, and we're only 4 players in. So I'm ready to call this a whiff from the NFL. 2 players a day, nobody knows it happens. It's impossible to react to 2 players a day.
Yeah.
Instead of on Monday, here's 100 through 90.
Right.
It's 2 players a day. Do you know who went yesterday?
I saw Drake London.
Yep.
But I don't know who the other one was.
Aaron Jones.
Okay.
So the NFL Top 100 now, 4 players into the Top 100, counting down, and it doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are in this space of checking the content machine.
Mm-hmm.
What's the NFL content machine churning out ahead of training camp? And today it's number 96 and 95. Congratulations.
It'll mostly be like, okay.
It's a little bit of congratulations, you played yourself. You do not need 2 a day for 45 days to get to the top.
That's the thing.
The top 10.
It's so long.
It removes the ability for sports fans to get mad, which they love to do. It removes the here come 10 players at once. And I'm sorry, what? You have Jared Goff ahead of a player 7 players later that just plays defensive back?
Right.
That's gone because it's only 2 at a time. No one's going to get mad 2 days later. Is Drake London better than Ladd McConkey? Yes, no. Who
is a Falcons fan mad this morning because they already have seen Drake London?
Who knows?
I don't know.
These lists exist to make us mad, and they whiffed on that. So congratulations, NFL. You played yourself. The other NFL note. Oh, all right, we had our caller on Purka, but they dropped off, so we'll stick with this for a minute. If you want to give us a call back, we'll get back to the Sabres. But the other NFL note is, file this one under you'll love to see it, Joe. At NFL.com, Chad Ryder.
Yep.
NFL.com writer. He has a 7-round super draft of active NFL players.
Okay.
So, click what is every Bills fan clicking to see?
Who they end up with at quarterback.
Who the Bills end up with quarterback?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, where Josh Allen goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Josh Allen go, according to Chad Ryder, in an NFL super draft? He basically just used this last year's draft order. Titans, number 1 pick. They take
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Number 1?
Which is another way to say, here's one more person saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in the NFL. Mahomes, 2.
Okay.
Lamar, 3. And on it goes for a full 7-round snake draft.
That is some effort right there. 7-round draft.
The real funny part of this piece, the effort, is he has a little blurb on each player.
Okay.
And
almost like a draft profile.
yeah,
kinda.
and it's kind of funny. Like the Browns, Mahomes. Mahomes is the sort of playmaker the team has long been seeking under center. Well, yeah, right. That is indeed, yeah. Lamar, 3rd to the Giants. Giants fans would love to see their quarterback throw 41 touchdowns and run for 915 yards. Yes, that's right. They would love that. But there's Allen, number 1. And then what's your next question you might have about a NFL active player super draft?
That'd be maybe my next one would be what the Bills end up with.
Well, they
have him late, right?
They pick 30th.
Who's the first non-quarterback picked?
Myles Garrett.
Okay. And he goes
14th. The first 13 picks are quarterbacks, and then Myles Garrett.
So who's the next quarterback after Myles Garrett?
Kyler Murray. It's all quarterbacks for 13 picks, Garrett, and then Murray, Lawrence, Stroud, and then Parsons, Rodgers, Bo Nix. This is a beautiful, unintentional bit of humor and comedy. The Steelers take Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Of course, they take a running back.
That's nuts.
Then you get into the receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, TJ Watt, Chris Jones, A.J. Brown.
I think in a thing like that, a team taking even Garrett over any quarterback like that is kind of nuts. Because what are they ending up with at the end of it?
At quarterback?
Yeah, are they getting like Gardner Minshew? Are they getting like the 35th best quarterback in the second round of a draft like that? Like Garrett's amazing, but
they end up with Russell Wilson.
Like, I'm not saying I like Kyler Murray that much, but that would be tough to see your team. You got every player available to you. You can get a quarterback who's pretty good, and they're like, no, we're going to take the worst quarterback in the league. Like, we're going to be willing to have the worst quarterback in the league because Myles Garrett is going to get us 11 sacks this year. Maybe 17 sacks this year, but still.
Maybe. Just good to see, though. Good to see Mahomes is not number 1. And as we started the segment talking about that NFL Top 100, like Allen could end up number 1. Here's one more voice to say he's the best quarterback. He's the best player. I would take him first in a super draft. Mm-hmm.
Is that not more a reaction to Mahomes' last 2 years than it is to Allen's?
I think they go hand in hand. I mean, Allen limiting the turnovers, that is the thing that I always feel like that's the thing that most Bills fans would say, we never cared about those. Have you seen him play?
Right.
It's not really that big a deal that happens.
Right. The graphic that always got put up by like CBS or whoever that he had the most turnovers in the league since he entered it, and like I'll put up their record next to it. Like, how much does it really matter? Right. And there are a lot of good like deep conversations about how those turnovers do not matter, especially with him because all of them were down the field. He's 0 pick sixes. I think he's approaching that record. Like the most pass attempts in a row without throwing a pick six.
Yeah.
So his interceptions were more like I know the arm punt thing gets overused, but they were a lot more like punts.
They were
than a lot of quarterbacks.
So
it's not Tua underthrowing a sideline throw that's like a walk-in.
That matters to a lot of people, and I think in like the conversation for this, yeah, I think it does matter. I think it's Mahomes' last 2 years have been not as productive just for his offense. They've kind of drifted to a middle-tier offense, and Allen has cleaned up the turnover. So, yeah, I think it's both. But anyway, Chad Ryder, NFL.com. 803-0550, our phone number if you want to pop in with us, 1-888-550-2550. Beautiful day here in Buffalo. And we had a caller had to drop off, so we'll bring up what he was going to say, which is simply that the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals.
Right.
And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem. He's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year, too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd, and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher, and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe, but statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
That's right.
And not better than Jake Allen signed yesterday. Weird contract.
Yeah,
5 years, $1.8 million per.
Yeah, I saw that and thought that was weird too. Did the Sabres try to pay more than that?
I guess it's more a Luukkonen commentary for me than a Lyon commentary, which is all those goalies. Yes, Lyon maybe is one of them. Allen, these guys that signed for $2 million a year. I don't think Luukkonen's that much better than those guys. He's not more consistent. All the numbers of the last 3 years would tell you he's worse than them.
Jake Allen, that 5-year, $9 million deal, did he get it front-loaded? Is it another NFL contract?
Is he at an age where that's possible?
He's 34.
Okay, that's a few years older than I thought he was. So
he'll be 30,
maybe
he'll be 35 to start the season. We brought this up a little bit yesterday that front-loading contracts might be back, especially with an escalating cap. Sure, let's do this. And if the cap hits only 1.8, we'll buy him out, or we'll just, he'll retire. Just we won't worry about it.
Yeah.
Did they? Because if you're Allen, 5 years, 1.8 per year is strange.
It is a little bit. He gets $2.25 million in the first 2 years, 1.8 in the third year, and then 1.3 in the last 2.
Okay.
So it is a little, but not so dramatically that it's this is definitely a retirement.
Sure. Maybe though it's a 3-year,
right,
$6 million deal, and they're still let's just throw a couple years on this for us.
That's maybe a better way of looking at it. Is that it's the total of his contract is $9 million, and in the last 2 years there's only 2.6. Yeah. So
803-0550, our phone number, and 1-888-550-2550 if you want to chime in. We're here to chat about it. There's a Purka point I was going to make in there. Luukkonen point.
Can they make the playoffs without replacing those goals? The defensive structure can be better, and I'm very worried about their ability to score as many goals as they did last year. They have a pretty rough-looking top 6 right now,
unless Norris is awesome and. Then it looks better.
That could be the case. He could also just make their power play a lot better.
Right.
Benson or Quinn could take a step. Things could happen, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't super, super likely that I think I have to not just hope for, but count on for the Sabres offensively.
803-0550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe tracking NHL free agency. A lot of contracts signed. The Sabres got a couple, pretty small ones. Thad Brown had the stat of the day on the Sabres and free agency. Thad Brown from Rochester. I'll get you that. When we return, it's something we all kind of know. When you hear it a certain way, it really drives something home. It's coming up next here on WGR.
Which there's two things happening with them right now that are a little bit curious. One, how close are they actually going to be to the salary cap? Because right now they're at $12.8 million.
Away from the cap?
Away from the cap. And RFA's left to sign Byram, Timmins, Levi. They could trade Byram for some guy who makes $2 million a year or
Jeremy White here for
draft picks,
Z-Bart to tell you all about
and then you're still $6-7 million below the cap. But if I saw yesterday that Byram's projected contract is like $7.2 million on like a 2-year deal. If they sign Byram to something around $7 million, and then Levi and Timmins get $1 million or $2 million each, I mean they're gonna be up against the cap if they either pay Byram or get someone that makes the equivalent of Bo Byram, unless. Like, will they dump Samuelson? Will they clear space somewhere else because they're not going to be a cap team this year? Because I'm just looking at it like they're going to end up there. If they do the status quo, they're probably going to end up $1 million or $2 million from the cap.
Yeah.
Which is way closer to it than they ever have been.
That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals.
Right.
And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem: he's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe. But, statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So, he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
July 2nd. Another day of free agency. In my crazy desperation for the Sabres to sign someone, I did check where Nikolai Ehlers is from, because I saw his agent is a Swedish-based agent. Mm-hmm. And I thought, where's Ehlers from again? Because is he friends with Dahlin? Could we make a thing happen here? He's Danish.
He's Danish.
Yeah.
I don't think the Sabres have any Danish players on their roster.
No Danes?
Nor have they ever. Have they?
Have Dane Smith call him. No? The Great Dane?
I'm not sure he would take kindly to that.
What? Why not?
What's this team doing? They think because I'm Danish, I'm going to relate to this guy named Dane?
You could try.
Do we think Dane is a Danish name?
No. But, we get the Great Dane for the Bandits, and they win. Anyway, Ehlers.
Go to the meeting with Dane Smith holding two different leashes, big Great Dane dogs.
Have him bring all the Bandits trophies and say, "It's a town of champions, Nikolai. Come play."
He's like, "What sport is that?
Come play for us. Let's go." 803-0550. Jerry and Kenmore quickly. Hey, Jerry, good morning.
Hey, I know you're always interested in new golf games, and I'm going to compare this to Josh Allen really quickly. We used to play this game in a larger group called Others, and what it was is you only want to make bogeys, pars, birdies, and anything over a bogey counted as a point. A double bogey, a triple bogey counted as 2, and the low score, a group of 20 people throw in $10 and you're shooting for the low score. It's called Others. But isn't that what Josh Allen is? If somebody told you at one point he used to lead the league in bogeys, yeah, but he also leads the league in birdies and eagles.
Yep.
And we want him to make more pars, but is that the expense of the bogeys or the expense of the birdies? Well, he shoots 68 every day. It's just a different way he gets there. Isn't that who he is?
Yeah. Yeah, I like
at his core, I think it is, yes.
He never makes a double bogey. He never makes a triple bogey. Quickly on the Sabres. The frustrating thing about the Sabres to me is that when you're shopping and you need something, we know what you need, and then you buy the generic brand because it's half the price. We need a goalie, so let's just get somebody to get us by for 1 year. We need bigger defensemen. Let's take somebody nobody wants. But he's bigger. It just doesn't feel like that. I hate that they know what they need to do. They just don't do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about free agency, this is not new for them. And if we could be in those meetings and on those calls, let's say like you had somebody embedded with them for free agency, and you could really see everything. Hard Knocks, right? Like Hard Knocks is in there. How many times they make a call and they're told like, no thanks, we're good. Do they already know? Do they
even make the call?
Did they make the call? We might feel bad for them. We might feel that they've earned that. We might feel bad for them. We might feel a lot of different things. But you might really have it driven home just how you want a goalie. Maybe they wanted Jake Allen, and Jake Allen said, don't want to do it. I mean, last year, Jake Allen's with the Devils. They make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I saw quotes from him about the team heading in the right direction, and that's just not something you can often say about the Sabres. You could have said it 2 years ago, and that drifted.
He ends up staying. If you looked at, this was only one free agent ranking, but Matt Larkins was the one I was using from Daily Faceoff. The Sabres signed the highest-ranked goalie that changed teams yesterday. Like, Larkin had Lyon as the number 2 ranked free agent goaltender. It was not to say he's great. It's just it was a really thin class.
It's Lyon and Dan Vladar.
Right. And Allen ends up staying. So, right, maybe somebody else had Vladar higher, but they, like, if you wanted them to sign a free agent goalie, they kind of did as good as they really could have. They could have traded for somebody. That probably would have been maybe what more people would have liked.
Yeah.
But they got the best free agent goalie that maybe was out there.
Yeah. I just wonder really how bad it is in trying to get anybody for them. 803-0550. Thanks for the phone call. 1-888-550-2550.
They've never had a player from Denmark, by the way, in their entire history. So Ehlers could be the first.
No Danes.
Yep.
What if you just called them and said $12 million? 1 year.
Make it 3.
Even 1. You don't want to commit
1
to us
year?
long term? Here's what's anybody off there offering? I mean, sure, if he's getting like 7-year offers, then it's going to be tough because it's more guaranteed money. 14 for
unless he thinks he could just get him again next year.
I'm serious, though. Get stupid. 14 for 1 year. We got to make the playoffs. We can do whatever it takes.
Right. 1 year, $14 million. That's every year I feel like that's an idea that they could have just done.
They could have tried.
They could have tried it.
And maybe it wouldn't work.
Tens of millions in cap space the last 3 years.
Well,
they could have just, that end up going unused. They're like, it could have just been 1 year for whoever 2 years ago on $6 million more than he was
right.
deserving
Just
of.
make someone's dreams come true. 1 year.
Right.
803-0550. Joe Marino, Locked On Bills, the Bills' quarter-century team. Going to have a little fun with that. He put that together for the Locked On Bills channel. So we'll talk about that, as well as the McLeod extension, Justin Danforth, Alex Lyon, and some Rochester players. That's the offseason so far for the Sabres, in addition to the Purka trade. Jeremy and Joe on this beautiful Wednesday here on WGR.
It's Friday for some.
But the other NFL note is, file this one under "you'll love to see it," Joe. At NFL.com, Chad Ryder,
Yep.
NFL.com writer, he has a 7-round super draft of active NFL players.
Okay.
So, click, what is every Bills fan clicking to see?
Who they end up with at quarterback.
Who the Bills end up with quarterback?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, where Josh Allen goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Josh Allen go, according to Chad Ryder, in an NFL super draft? He basically just used this last year's draft order. Titans, number 1 pick. They take
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Number 1?
Which is another way to say, here's one more person saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in the NFL. Mahomes, 2.
Okay.
Lamar, 3. And on it goes for a full 7-round snake draft.
That is some effort right there.
The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. Mm-hmm. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are
like
they?
that number.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's they have. We've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Darlene as the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Darlene makes 11, but guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Darlene, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million+. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right.
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Free agency day number 1 in the NHL for the Sabres was headlined by keeping Ryan McLeod around for 4 years, $5 million per year for McLeod, who was a restricted free agent and coming off a career season scoring 20 goals. Sabres also add Alex Lyon, goaltender from Detroit, 2-year deal, $1.5 million per year. They also signed Justin Danforth, a fourth liner from the Blue Jackets, smaller guy, 5'8", 2-year deal, $1.8 million for Danforth. Some other signings around the league. Corey Perry is going to Los Angeles. Vladislav Gavrikov, who signed a giant deal, $7 million per year in New York, allowed Keandre Miller to be traded to Carolina in a big deal there, where he gets $60 million from the Hurricanes. In the NFL, Darren Waller is going to play this year coming out of retirement for the Dolphins. He was traded from the Giants to Miami yesterday, just a swap of late-round picks. Waller did not play in the NFL in 2024. At Wimbledon, Coco Gauff and Jesse Pegula were upset in the first round of Wimbledon. Both giant upsets. Wimbledon's currently in a rain delay. Should pick back up in like 10 minutes. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
Are you telling me that Kesselring and Doan have fully replaced that? Because I'm not sure that they did. If anything, those two players are a wash. You missed by 15 points. More, maybe. How did you close the gap? You didn't do anything else. Adding Kesselring is not going to make your defense 20 points better. So it's this. We get to this point every single year with this front office team. Every year. It's you sit here and you say, I like some of the moves they did. I can get behind them. They make sense. But where is my over-the-top move? Where is my move that pushes me to be better?
That's our buddy Chad D. Dominicis of the Expected Buffalo podcast on the Sabres moves. More on that in a minute. Darren Waller?
Darren Waller.
Darren Waller.
Welcome back to the party, Darren Waller.
All right, Darren Waller.
Where do I draft him in fantasy?
Is there somebody out there that had him stashed in a dynasty league and thought, I don't think this retirement's going to stick? There's a story at Yahoo Sports about Waller so he retired last year.
Yeah.
And he was telling the story of how that happened, that he addressed his decision in a YouTube video when he retired. He was getting divorced from Kelsey Plum of the WNBA, and said he had an off-the-field medical scare during the 2023 season that forced him to reevaluate things. But now he's healthy, and he's just back.
He also told, was it him or someone told the story via him, that he was playing against the Bills on that Sunday night game, where actually at the end, remember, Tyrod goes to him at the goal line. Taron Johnson's in coverage, and it's incomplete. He almost had the winner. He was playing fullback that game, and he's like, lead blocking for Barkley, and it's like, here comes Matt Milano down the gap, or whoever it was, and he's like, what am I doing? I'm playing fullback right now? Like, I'm done. I'm done with this. So that might have led to it as well. That breakup was very public. He came out with, do you remember the really cringeworthy music video that he came out with?
I do not remember that.
Oh, man. We'll have to go take a trip down memory lane. It was something. He came out with a music video after that, and it was very strange. And yeah, Miami. They needed a tight end.
Darren Waller.
He was awesome. He had 197 catches in a 2-year span in 2019-2020. Almost 1,200 yards each of those 2 years. Like, it's really only those 2 years for his career, but he was, I mean, I could go look. Kelsey probably maybe would top that, but would that be it? Like, that's 2,300 yards, 2,400 yards for a tight end in a 2-year period is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that in Miami because he'll be at best the third option, and that's if he's even relatively healthy, ready to go. Remember when Gronk came out of retirement, and it was like, he didn't really look that big. He didn't look like he was in football shape. He was kind of like a specialty piece for Tampa for a year. Like, that might be the most you get out of Darren Waller. I also saw people making the joke of, who was the person who tweeted this? But that basically Darren Waller, who was just talking about, here we go, Ted Nugent, right? from The Athletic.
Ted Wynn.
Ted Wynn, thank you. He tweeted, Darren Waller, who retired when asked to lead block in an inside run, is a great fit for the Dolphins who refuse to do the boring stuff to win in January, like run inside. So,
one thing on Waller, if I could make a quick comparison here, and we'll get to this by the time we get to training camp. 3 weeks from today, we're going to start watching this one player. Waller in his retirement season where he cashes in, what am I doing? I don't want to play fullback, retire mid-season with a health scare.
Yeah.
52 catches, 552 yards.
Okay.
Which both numbers beat what Kincaid did last year. Now, Kincaid's in and everybody eats offense. I know that, but I start to wonder about, Coleman is in year 2, and I almost want to get to who has shown better right now, Kincaid or Coleman? Those are the two that I think a lot of people are really watching for someone to live up to their draft status or whatever. As long as the offense is great, we're going to be fine with the Bills at large. But for Kincaid, a breakout would be nice. The year before, of course, Kincaid has 73 catches.
That's the thing. How impressive do you – it depends how impressive you consider his rookie year to be. Because – he did have, the second highest total for receptions by a rookie tight end ever?
Yeah.
So there's the reception number was really high, but how impactful was it? How effective was it? How much did it contribute to wins? I don't remember any big plays. Were they even critical plays? They were just plays. They were there. They were pretty efficient. But it wasn't I don't think the league was talking about, wow, look at Kincaid here and what he's doing for the Bills offense. He was piling up the catches and, I don't know. I don't consider that season to look so impressive.
I tend to agree. I think sometimes when it's sold as, the franchise record for tight end catches, which it was also that too, right?
It was that too. Yep.
We've seen the position kind of hybrid into tight end receiver, how often he's not on the in line, how often he's just going to get freebie catches, and a lot of teams having guys like this. So I tend to agree that can sometimes be framed as he showed us he was some sort of unicorn, and I don't think he is that yet, or shown that yet. He's shown to be a serviceable player. It's just, to me, the numbers of, Waller's last season, again, where he retired, it's not even that far off of Kincaid's full season if you had given Waller 16 games. Yards per catch, catches per game. Kincaid has 4 touchdowns in the regular season. 4 in 2 years.
Right.
And does Joe Brady feel any sort of, all right, I've got to do a better job of getting him involved. I've got to do a better job of making sure we're using a difference maker. They drafted him to be a big-time difference maker, a matchup nightmare. Oh, well, he's gonna be able to exploit so many different things and let us do different things. And that still might be true. The question is, will they rely on him? And I think that last play in the AFC Championship game where he does not come up with that catch, that is it's a great kind of indicator play about how you feel about him. Because could he have made that catch? Yes. Should he have made that catch? I think the number of people saying yes and no split a little there. And then how much do you hold that as, proof that it's not working out? I think sometimes the conversation on Kincaid tends to get pretty intense about, he's a bust. It wasn't worth it. I didn't agree with the strategy of going for another tight end there, but I think there's ability for sure. And in year 1, we saw the fluidity, we saw the value. He was your Beasley. He was your Beasley. He was the guy that was going to work in the slot and, work zones and just kind of be your drive extender. And Shakir's emergence really overshadowed him as much as anything else did. As much as usage, as much as injuries, as much Shakir blossoming in that spot, he became the guy to go to in the middle of the field.
Right. Well, really, the thing I always wonder about Kincaid is if there is another level and it's a really high level, what does it look like? Darren Waller, when I heard the name, when you said the word unicorn, Waller's got some unicorn in him. He is 6'6" and is fast. Like, real fast. Like, wide receiver fast. I think part of that's because he began his career as a wide receiver. So, like, he ran a 4.45 40. He's got 4.4 speed. Darren Waller does. Kincaid is shorter than Waller. He's 6'4", which is more, I think, closer to the average for a tight end. And his 40 time is a 4.71. So I don't have elite speed for Kincaid. I don't have the elite level size for Kincaid. And that's just by height. I mean, if you want to go by, physicality and girth, I mean, the Bills just talked about him wanting to put on weight.
Yeah.
So it's not the body type. It's not the speed. What is the thing about him that is unicorn? Fluidity? Route running? Catching the ball? Because that play at the end of the season is one of the things I thought he was going to be elite at. When he showed up to training camp as a rookie, the guy caught everything. Like, every ball that was near him, it's like, oh, he's plucking the ball out of midair. You should see this guy at practice. And then year one did look like that. I mean, he caught 80% of the balls that were thrown his way.
The efficiency was there.
There weren't drops. So, I think the nuances of the game and the route running was the thing that he was going to be great at, but also his ability just to catch everything that's near him. And then I had a ball that was near him to keep the season alive, and he couldn't catch it. So, yes, it was a tough catch, but Dalton Kincaid was drafted in the first round without elite speed or elite size. Yes, he has to catch that football.
Yeah. One thing about Kincaid and the difference between Kincaid and Waller here, not that, we're directly comparing them, it just kind of got into a conversation about tight end as Darren Waller is back.
Right.
Do you know how many catches Darren Waller had in the NFL at Dalton Kincaid's current age?
Oh, not much, right? Because his story is wild. Like, he had addiction problems,
yes.
right? And
he started very, very late.
Yeah.
His first full season in the NFL, where he's the guy that he is 27.
Yeah, wow.
So he's with the Ravens for 2 years. He had
at receiver, right?
23 catches.
Yeah.
He's out of the league in 2017. He's back in 2018, 6 catches for the year, and then 117. That's a guy that went from 6 catches.
That's crazy.
Targets. 6 targets to 117 targets to 145 targets.
Yeah.
So Waller was a late bloomer. You mentioned the addiction thing. Like, he stopped drinking, I believe was part of his story. And it wasn't until he's 27. So I feel like if you're going to make a point about Kincaid, anybody out there, you might say, like, he's 25. The tight end age chart tends to skew a little more towards where the age he's getting to now. So anyway, the Waller conversation just had me thinking about Kincaid and how here's Waller, who retired off a season where he put up the same kind of numbers that the Bills' top tight end put up.
Right.
So,
in a year where he maybe in the middle of it was like, I think I'm about done.
Yeah.
Because that Bills game that he referenced or talked about, like, that's when he kind of thought, all right, what am I doing here? That Bills game is in the middle of the season, isn't it?
Yes, that's a Dorsey game. That's one of those, what on earth is this? What is happening? The Bills are down 6.
I mean, they almost lost it.
They're down 6-0 at halftime.
Let's see. It's that they win 14-9. It's week 6.
Week 6, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Graham. I feel like my tweet from that game is the score is Graham Gano 6, Bills 0.
Also, by the way, I'm looking at the game log for Waller that season. This was his last year. And you mentioned, like, 552 yards, like, more stats than Kincaid last year. He missed 5 games. He didn't play from week 9 to week 15. So,
oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Kincaid missed a couple games last year too.
Waller played 12 and Kincaid played 13.
Okay,
like basically the same amount of season, and their numbers were comparable.
I mean, he had, like a 7 for 98 game that season, an 8 for 86 game that year, 6 for 76. Like there are some of these big games that, like, Kincaid, I feel like is more often going to give you. I'm going to give you 40 yards every week.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to have, because Waller had some bad ones too. He had a 2 for 20. And maybe Kincaid doesn't do that as often, but he's not giving you those pop 7 for 98 and a touchdown games. Not yet, at least. Her injuries have done that too.
Yeah. 8030550. Jim is up. Hey, Jim, good morning. Hello, Jim.
Hey, good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Morning.
Oh, hey. So this is more like an opinion question concerning prospects. I understand that, of course, we want to get a top 6 forward going here somewhere. But in your opinion, who is our top 3 or 4 prospects in Rochester or anywhere in our system that has any potential and upside of potentially cracking the lineup? Osland, Hellenius, Roseanne. I mean, in your opinion, who do we have that could potentially make the big club next year?
You mean, for this year?
Or yeah.
For this year, Jim, I think maybe Hellenius or Osland have it in them to show up at training camp and just wow everybody and these guys should maybe be in the lineup. They've built a lineup without any expectation of that. They're full at forward. They need a top 6 guy, but in terms of the numbers, who's coming out of the lineup for one of your Rochester guys? Who's going off the team? Is Krebs going away? Is Melenstein going away? Josh Doan's not going away. I mean, that's kind of it. Danforth, who they just signed to a one-way deal, $1.8 million. I guess he could just go away. That's not that hard if you wanted to do that. But they've built a lineup as though they don't expect any of those prospects to make the NHL team. And it depends how you define prospect, too, because I'm not thinking about the Rochester guys. I'm thinking about Benson and Kulik, who I still would want to label as prospects, by the way. And they're going to be in the NHL, and they've showed well, but, give me a step up from those two. Though that's where my prospect mind is right now. Not about the guys that aren't here yet, but the two that are here, and they're both probably going to be starting the season in the top 6.
Yeah. It does get to the question of what do you consider a prospect? Is Yuri Kulik a prospect, or is he on your team? I think he's on your team. He's a young player, but the idea that he could still be considered a prospect...
He's a prospect in that he's not yet what you would expect him to be, correct?
Okay, but isn't that true of almost everyone?
I mean, it's not true of
isn't that true?
Thompson, Norris.
Is that true of Zach Benson? Is he still a prospect?
Sure, he's still 19.
Okay.
Right?
Is Connor Bedard Connor Bedard a prospect?
I would say I know what everybody is in their entire forward group except for those two. We know what Greenway is. We know what McLeod is.
Sure, but
we know what Zucker is. Quinn maybe, I guess, is a little different.
Do it with Connor Bedard. Prospect? Macklin Celebrini. Is he a prospect? Is he what he's going to be? Or is,
they're a prospect-like traits, I guess, but maybe they're not fully prospects.
Whatever. Anybody can do it however they want to. I think that sometimes that phrase can be a catch-all, and different people have different interpretations of it.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim, for the phone call. 803-0550. Owen Parker. Owen, Alex Lyon, what do you feel? You fine? You were on the Jake Allen train, right?
I was on the Jake Allen train pretty hard. That deal's weird.
It is a weird deal.
It's one of those ones where I don't think he'll see the end of it. But Lyon, he's got good. His underlying numbers are good. His base numbers are good. I like him. I don't. It's hard to get upset about that move. I'm not upset about it, but I'm not this is awesome. He's going to make a huge difference. I don't know how different he'll be than what UPL will bring or what Levi would bring or what James Reimer brought. I don't know that he moves the needle in much of a significant way. He does bring, I think, a little more of a calm demeanor in the net as compared to a James Reimer, who was, it seemed like, constantly in a state of panic. But it's another dart to throw at the board and now what you've got now in the crease for Buffalo is 3 guys that all could conceivably be functional starters.
When I go to moneypuck.com and start to go through goalies, they've got a million stats you can use. There's goals saved above expected, per 60, save percentage on unblocked shots, save percentage above. Do you have one that you like? What should I use?
For me, everything starts from save percentage, just base save percentage for me, and then from there I look at goals saved above expected, goals saved above expected per 60, and quality starts is a big one for me.
Quality starts is one that I do like because your save percentage blended across all your starts. You play games. You don't just save 1,000 pucks. It's what did you do?
Exactly.
If you won 9 out of 10 and played great, and in the 10th game you got absolutely lit up. then that's that's batting average.
And if you're 1,000 goaltender in 50% of your games, and you're a 500 goaltender in the rest of your games, you're a 500 record goaltender, but your save percentage doesn't look as horrific as it may have. There's a lot of different sort of factors that go into all these different numbers.
Quality starts, for anyone that doesn't know, I think it's your save percentage was above 900. Is that it? Or
it might be
in individual games.
Yes.
Within a game, how did you give your team essentially a chance to win the game?
Yeah.
And if you're doing that on a nightly basis, you're doing your job in the crease, and everything else can work out.
Yeah, they say basically that if you're over 60% on quality starts, you're good. Under 50% is bad, and that's where Luukkonen really hurt them last year.
Exactly. He would have great games where he looked like himself and he looked good. But there would then be stretches where it was just all out the window and he lost all his confidence, and you can't win with that. And you need to be able to trust your goaltender. You can't go in thinking he could be really good tonight.
Yeah.
Or he could be a disaster. And nobody gets anything done with that in that.
Right.
2 years ago, Luukkonen had 34 quality starts. This year it was 28. They also have, it's funny, like sometimes analytics is just, hey, let's take a look at the data that anyone would agree is worth using and put a name on it.
Right.
And sometimes the name of the stat is very simple, like really bad starts.
Right.
Pro Hockey Reference uses really bad starts.
That might be my new favorite.
And that's a save percentage below 85%. So you're below 850.
Yeah.
Luukkonen, last year, after the previous years going 1, 7, and 6 in really bad starts. Like he had 7 really bad starts out of 33 3 years ago. He had 6 really bad starts out of 54 2 years ago. Last year, in 55 games, he had 16 really bad starts.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, if you want to try to find a way for the Sabres to not have a 13-game win streak, losing streak, rather, and for these small moves to get better, I mean, it might be a wish, it might be a prayer, but it's just, if UPL just doesn't have a horrifically bad season, 16 really bad starts.
That's as many as Lyon has in the last 2 years combined.
He more than doubled his own number from 2 years ago to last year.
If I had put it together 16 really bad starts in that many games in my time as a junior goaltender, I would not be playing junior hockey anymore.
You also have
I'd be done.
Goals save above expected is another one. Maybe you like this, maybe you don't. Like some of these are
mine. That's the one I like.
Yep. Okay, so his drop off from 2 years ago to last year was from a +10 to a -20. 30 goals.
Yeah.
Like you want to replace Purka?
There you go.
Old Luukkonen will do that.
Yeah.
If he goes back to Luukkonen of 2 years ago, you have replaced the 30 goals that Purka would score.
Right.
I know it doesn't exactly work like that, but
in theory, that's...
I feel like sometimes in the Sabres offseason, we have to bounce back and forth between it's hopeless, but there are things that could make it...
Right. And yeah, Lyon's game, I think, presents well for the Sabres. He's very calm, and he just doesn't flop around as much as I think you saw with Reimer and UPL last year even. It should calm them down a little bit, especially a younger team will... It can be jarring if you look back as a forward and you're covering your point man and your goalie's on his stomach halfway out of the crease.
Yeah.
It's not... You end up overcompensating and then missing defensive assignments trying to help. And that's a bad place to be, too.
But speaking of goal saved above expected, in the last 3 years, Luukkonen's goal saved above expected is 2.9. And
so in 3 years, he saved 3 goals
more than you
would expect. Yeah.
Lyon playing half the minutes Luukkonen has saved 17.6 above expected. And his best season was 2 years ago, too. Yep. His season 2 years ago doesn't look that different than Luukkonen's.
No.
He played 43 games versus 55, but those are both decent numbers. So, that's where I know Luukkonen's paid a lot more. There's nothing about their numbers.
No.
Maybe their body types and their age is different, but there's nothing about their numbers in their careers that says Luukkonen's a better goaltender.
Right, and Luukkonen should be getting $5 million and Lyon getting 1.8.
Yeah. There's no one goalie on that team right now that I think needs to be the starter.
It's just another, hey, I just really need one of... Well, maybe you do need two because the idea of either of them playing 60 games maybe is a lot, and you'd rather Luukkonen because you have the investment, but Luukkonen and Levi felt really dangerous because I have two guys that are huge question marks. Lyon is somewhat of a question mark, But now, I don't know. I just feel like I have 3 kicks at the can now.
That's
and really
exactly.
more so 2, but Levi's now the outside looking in.
What you've done is provided yourself one more option or one more chance for somebody to hit in a world where goalies, you don't know if they're going to hit.
Yeah.
And so good. You've raised your chances by whatever percentage Lion represents. I think it's more than I kind of was expecting. I didn't really think they were going to do anything. So good for them.
Mm-hmm. 803-0550 on the Sabres and their offseason. Get some more rumors out there. The teams after Byram, we should get into whether or not the Sabres really have to trade Byram. I have a text about that. Like, explain why they have to do this. So we can do that. Happy Wednesday. It's beautiful outside. And it's Jeremy and Joe here on WGR. Jeremy White here for Encore. That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals.
Right.
And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem. He's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe. But, statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So, he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender. Which they are. There's 2 things happening with them right now that are a little bit curious. One, how close are they actually going to be to the salary cap? Because right now they're at $12.8 million.
Away from the cap?
Away from the cap. And RFA's left to sign Byram, Timmins, Levi. They could trade Byram for some guy who makes $2 million a year or draft picks, and then you're still $6-7 million below the cap. But if I saw yesterday that Byram's projected contract is $7.2 million on a 2-year deal. If they sign Byram to something around $7 million, and then Levi and Timmins get $1 million or 2 each, I mean they're gonna be up against the cap if they either pay Byram or get someone that makes the equivalent of Bo Byram, unless will they dump Samuelsson? Will they clear space somewhere else because they're not going to be a cap team this year? Because I'm just looking at it they're going to end up there. If they do the status quo, they're probably going to end up $1 million or 2 from the cap.
Yeah.
Which is way closer to it than they ever have been.
The one thing about them being near the cap, like let's say they finish out, they're within. I'll be impressed if they're within $7 million of the cap, $5 million of the cap, because it went up. Last year, they left a lot of money on the table that could have signed them a good player. Maybe they couldn't find that player. They couldn't get a guy to take that money. But it kind of changes the tone on Pagula versus Adams. If they're up against the cap and still not good, then it shifts
could look worse.
Yeah, then it shifts a little bit from the owner won't spend, which people think there's an internal budget. All of a sudden, oh, here you go to the spend of the cap. All right, you finish with 78 points again. Wow, you're spending all that money and you're still not good?
Right.
That's kind of troubling in its own right. So,
it could. I mean, I would appreciate them actually showing a willingness to spend.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be – I think it's better if you're going to have 78 points one way or another. I feel like it feels like you're trying harder if you are spending to the cap rather than if I had $12 million in space.
I don't disagree, but the point would be the GM is not doing a good job.
It would look
to be up against. I see what you mean. Yeah, to be up against the cap and bad.
It might look better for. It might look a little better for Pagula, but it might look worse for Adams.
Yeah.
Free agency day number 1 in the NHL yesterday. The Sabres signing one of their own, Ryan McLeod, a 4-year deal worth $5 million per year for McLeod, who's coming off a career year with 20 goals. The Sabres also bringing in a new goaltender, Alex Lyon, who played about 70 games for the Red Wings in the last 2 seasons. That's a 2-year deal, $1.5 million. They signed a 4th liner, Justin Danforth, $1.8 million for 2 years. 5'8", smaller player that's been playing in the bottom 6 in Columbus for a little bit. To football, Darren Waller, back in the NFL. He traded from the Giants to the Dolphins for a late-round pick swap coming out of retirement. He did not play in the league last year. There's also news this morning that Bills' first-round rookie Maxwell Hairston's been named in a civil lawsuit alleging that he sexually assaulted a woman in 2021. Brandon Beane had commented about these allegations in April after he was selected. And Wimbledon is still in a rain delay. It appears 7:45 is expected to be when play picks back up. Yesterday, Coco Gauff and Jessie Pagula, 2 of the biggest names on the women's side, were both eliminated in the first round in huge upsets. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
I mean, it's a mechanism in the CBA that every team has. If you have your picks, you have the ability to look at that. As we go through our own process, we plan out and prepare budget-wise for those type of things. So it's something that we don't wake up every day fearful of anything. We plan appropriately. But it's not as easy to find the right fit to have it work. You know, you have to have the appropriate picks. You have to have the cap space. Just a lot of things that you have to really like the player and all these other areas.
Kevin Adams on offer sheets. You do need your own picks, and the Sabres have had a habit of spending their seconds and thirds, which I like to say are not really that useful and all that valuable, but in offer sheets they are. So Carolina was going to offer sheet Keandre Miller, and instead they called the Rangers and said, let's just make a trade instead.
Yes, or maybe even the Rangers called them and said, hey, before you do this, why don't we try to work something out here?
Yep.
And Carolina's been as active an offer sheet team as you really can get, I guess, because they did one, and they also had been offer sheeted the year before, and they were about to do it again right after Gavrikov went for a big deal to the Rangers. So they go for the veteran, I guess, in New York rather than the younger guy, and Carolina gets... They kind of get what they want, don't they? I mean...
They got the player.
This is not... The offer sheet doesn't actually ever happen, but they used offer sheets to get a player they wanted.
Yeah.
If offer sheets don't exist, maybe the Rangers just say, kick rocks, I'm not trading him. But...
And that might be how the Byram deal gets done.
Because Darren Dreger said that yesterday, that there's a team... It seems like a threat through the media, right? But there was a team that is realistically considering offer sheeting Bo Byram.
Is that Calgary?
It could be Vegas. If they have... I saw Chris Johnston said $7 million would give a first and a third. I don't have the tiers in front of me.
I don't think... Right.
Some teams can't do that.
Well, there's a couple of tiers. $7 million's a first and a third. You would just go $7 million and $21,000. That's a first, a second, and a third. If you have those picks.
If you have those picks.
Right. Right. So it's a little over $7 million that the whole thing gets to a first, a second, and a third. And
Calgary has all of these. Calgary could do anything.
So here you go. Here's the plan here. And this is...
But St. Louis can only go up to 7.02. So if it was St. Louis, they'd have to be below that. They'd have to be at $7 million.
And they probably feel like if it's a first and a third, the Sabres are going to match that, I think.
I think you'd feel really stuck. I think you'd feel... What does everybody want out of Byram right now? They want him to be turned into a forward, right? A guy that can score goals for you?
Yeah. I mean, can I tell you what I would do if I'm the owner? I would meddle if I'm the owner. And I would say, yes, I would meddle. I'd go to the GM and say, the GM comes to me and says, hey, Byram might get an offer sheet. All right, what's the compensation? A first, a second, a third, a first, and a third? I would say, who's the team?
Yes. That's not... Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Who's the team? Because an offer sheet like this...
If it was Vegas, for instance, they can't do it, but...
It's a rare spot. I could get a first-round pick that is not lottery protected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who's the team? Are they going to be bad?
That's the thing.
Are they going to miss the playoffs?
If it was Vegas, I might say...
No way.
Yeah, because they're not going to be bad. But if it's Calgary...
Calgary could be...
Calgary could be bad.
Calgary could be bad. They could miss the playoffs.
Sure.
I don't profess
they could miss the playoffs
I don't
by
even,
a lot.
I'm the owner of the team. I don't know. I have to pull up the standings. I don't care. Analytics team, run 10,000 simulations on the season. Which team is likely to miss the playoffs, giving us 2 lottery balls? I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry.
2% at Gavin McKenna.
You do not get unprotected You do not get unprotected firsts. It almost never happens anymore.
Right.
And an offer sheet would do that. If it's one first, that's... Now, one thing about offer sheets that's odd, I've got to get this exactly right. So one of the sheets is 4 firsts.
Yeah, that's the 11...
You actually have
plus
5 years to give them 4 firsts.
Right.
I don't know if that's true of 1 first. Do you have 2 years?
It's not. No. It's
okay.
So everything that's 1 first, it's got to be the 2026 first round pick.
Okay, then
if you go up to, and this won't be for Byram, that second tier, 9.3 to 11.7, which is 2 firsts, that's got to be in the next 3 drafts.
Okay, so you're telling me if a team offer sheets Byram, I can get an additional first next year that is not lottery protected?
That's a lot of value to put on ping pong balls, but it's a lot. It's a big player.
Listen, I'm just saying, what's more valuable? The 24-year-old left winger that Calgary's going to put in this deal that I'm now going to say, like, I guess that's my new Purka, or I'm not telling you I'm taking. I'm not telling you anything other than we got a generational guy coming out. I got Gavin McKenna. My best chance at ever getting another one of these players ever again is time is a flat circle, being at the top of the lottery again. And if I can have a bad team, this is the trade you'd make in fantasy, Joe. You're in a dynasty league. Guy texts you, I'll give you a first, and you look and you say, your team stinks. I'm going to take that because I might get a first-round pick that's in the top 3.
So why don't I just go all in then, though? Why don't I, if it's all about McKenna this year?
It's not all about McKenna. It's about I'm going to trade Byram if I'm going to do that.
Right.
And the team that is threatening the offer sheet is a team that I think reasonably could be in the bottom 10. Then I'm saying let it happen.
But what you're doing is you're giving up. The argument against it would be is you're giving up your number one trade chip for this year and you are going to get nothing that helps you this season.
Well,
not a single thing.
Am I convinced I'm going to get anything that helps me this season to begin with?
I'm more hopeful at this point than I would say I'm expecting it.
I'm hopeful too.
I'm hopeful that they can get something that would help them.
I'm just saying if it's an offer sheet, that the ring, it's an offer sheet.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Because if it's, all right, so for you, if it's Calgary, you feel like, all right, I want like a team like that. If it's Vegas, then maybe then you're stuck. Because if you're not interested in the lottery balls, because no one would expect Vegas to be in the lottery to any degree, then now I'm really deciding between futures or Bo Byram. I had forgotten this rule or maybe just didn't know it, but if you match an offer sheet on a player, you're not allowed to trade him for a year. So if Vegas offer sheets Bo Byram, you have to decide, do I want a 2026 draft pick?
No.
That's going to help me, or
then you keep him.
Or I just have Bo Byram on my team this year.
Yeah.
And that's where
you can
the
trade
Sabres might really not want an offer sheet because an offer sheet would completely prevent them from trading him for something they might want.
They could trade him next July.
But for this year they can't.
Sure. So he's just on the team and you're not moving him at the deadline.
Right. Which means you're not getting a forward.
Which is a possibility to begin with. They could just decide there's no deal. Anyway, the Byram thing. It's interesting. We'll get a break in. 803-0550. I'm not.
So you're rooting for Calgary to offer sheet.
Well, Calgary had 96 points last year. I mean, they're,
Who are the other teams mentioned? The teams that could offer sheet between 7 and 9.3.
Okay.
Anaheim.
Oh, you would definitely take that.
Boston.
No. Boston's going to be better than the Sabres this year. Are they not?
I don't like their roster yet.
Okay.
I mean, I might like their future more, but I would take it from Boston. Calgary, Chicago, Detroit, LA.
The Bruins finished 3 points behind the Sabres, going 3-6-1 down the stretch. The Sabres went 6-3-1 down the stretch.
Wouldn't it be hilarious, though, if they won the lottery and it was the Bruins pick?
It'd be great. Who are the other teams that can do this?
Detroit, LA, Montreal, Nashville, who's been very aggressive.
You would do Nashville in a heartbeat.
New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and
Pittsburgh in a heartbeat.
And Utah.
We'll get a break in. The Byram sweepstakes, I suppose. They're still on. Jeremy and Joe, 803-0550. Joe Marino with the Locked On Bills podcast coming up in a moment here on WGR. But the other NFL note is, file this one under you'll love to see it, Joe. At NFL.com, Chad Ryder.
Yep.
NFL.com writer. He has a 7-round super draft of active NFL players.
Okay.
So, click what is every Bills fan clicking to see?
Who they end up with at quarterback.
Who the Bills end up with quarterback?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, where Josh Allen goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Josh Allen go, according to Chad Ryder, in an NFL super draft? He basically just used this last year's draft order. Titans, number 1 pick. They take
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Number 1?
Which is another way to say, here's one more person saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in the NFL. Mahomes, 2.
Okay.
Lamar, 3. And on it goes for a full 7-round snake draft.
That is some effort right there.
That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals. And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem. He's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year, too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd, and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher, and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe, but statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number one goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
This, I want to add some context and background. So I was informed that Aaron Goodwin, Damian Lillard's agent, about a month ago, reached out to the Bucks and informed them that Dame would like to rehab back home in Portland, stay with his kids, rehab back in Portland. And I was told that some people within the Bucks did not approve of that. And so there was kind of some back and forth right there. Dame wanted to be with his kids and rehab. And that's what he's doing right now. And so I think that might have got the ball rolling on, or at least putting some ideas in the heads of the Milwaukee Bucks that kind of led to this decision.
That's Chris Hayes of NBA TV. So the Bucks then waived him. Damian Lillard, a star point guard in the league who did tear his Achilles last season. He wanted to, his family still lives in Portland. He wanted to rehab there, and they're like, no, we don't want you to. So they waived him. They also wanted to sign a free agent, which they did. Mm-hmm. So that's really cold. They also, this is where like some sports are just like massive big business. The Bucks are giving him $113 million over the next like 5 years to not play for them. $113 million to Damian Lillard to not play. And Giannis is unhappy, so it might have backfired on him.
Red Panda got hurt. You see that?
What? No.
Red Panda got hurt.
Red Panda got hurt?
At a WNBA game last night. Red Panda, the woman that rides a unicycle.
Did she fall?
Yeah, she fell. Which, first I saw the clip of her on the court looks like she hurt her wrist.
Yeah.
And then I saw the clip of the fall, which you have to blame the court.
Ooh.
She's not going to just fall off a unicycle. There must have been a wet spot or something.
Absolutely.
There's a problem. Red Panda does not fall on her own.
No, she does not. And that happens on NBA courts enough that you would totally buy that.
Red Panda. How about it?
Hurt her wrist. She did leave in a wheelchair. But that might just been the easiest way to get her out of there. Wow.
Yeah, big moment. Big moment last night. 803-0550, our phone number, if you want to chime in on the Sabres offseason. Or we'll get some Bills stuff. Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast joining us in just a moment. So we'll talk about the Bills' quarter-century team. And, of course, with 3 weeks out from camp, get his thoughts on the Miami and the Pittsburgh trade. Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh, and Minkah Fitzpatrick back to Miami. How much does it move the needle for either team? The Bills will play both teams, of course, so plenty to consider. So get his thoughts on that trade and continue getting ready for Bills training camp coming up 3 weeks from today. We will be at, hopefully a sunny, St. John Fisher, our spot under the pavilion. This year...
It has poured before, when we've been there.
This year... Are we planning on streaming? We gonna be streaming from camp?
Chopin Bulldog, we're from Harbor Center for 11-day power play, so I'd like to think so.
We're streaming from camp. You can see us every morning from a sunny St. John Fisher. Yeah.
You could see the players now walking behind us out into the field in the 9 o'clock hour.
Who makes the trip in this year. 2 years ago is when we just found Steve Mariucci. Remember that?
He was just walking by.
Hey, Steve.
He was lost.
You want to sit down? Sure.
Steve Mariucci just completely lost, looking around. Like, you want to just sit for a minute? He's like, sure. Just give Marv Levy stories.
We need a couple more of those. Just who's in town and pop on with us. So we'll see if the Bills get attention. Of course, Hard Knocks will be there too. So be interesting to see how that operation looks. So 3 weeks from today, we get things started with Bills training camp. Jeremy and Joe Marino, the Locked On Bills podcast, coming up in a moment here on WGR. The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. Mm-hmm. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? They have a lot of those middle contracts. I was looking at this morning, comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Dahlin as the big contract, $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11, but guys that make 4+, they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than Toronto and Edmonton and a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Dahlin, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million+. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. It's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts.
That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think They scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs. They need 7 more wins without those goals. And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem. He's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year, too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd, and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher, and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe, but statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie.
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender. Sabres just made one of their signings from yesterday official. Justin Danforth, the 4th liner, formerly of the Blue Jackets, 32 years old, 5'8", 2-year deal, $1.8 million per. He is officially signed, as is Ryan McLeod on his new deal. 4 years, $5 million per year. He had his career season last year with 20 goals. Sabres still have a couple RFAs to sign, including Bo Byram if they don't trade him, Devin Levi, and Connor Timmins. One other signing from yesterday for the Sabres to mention, Alex Lyon will join the team at goaltender, who spent last 2 years in Detroit starting over or about 70 games for the Red Wings. To football, Darren Waller is back in the NFL, coming out of retirement as the Giants trade him to the Dolphins. He'll replace Jonnu Smith. Waller did not play last year. Also, news this morning that Maxwell Hairston, the Bills' first-round corner, has been named in a civil lawsuit alleging that he sexually assaulted a woman in 2021. Brandon Beane did say at the draft the team was aware of the allegations when they did draft him. At Wimbledon, Coco Gauff and Jesse Pegula were upset in round one of Wimbledon. Those were huge upsets, and there's a rain delay that may have just ended at Wimbledon, so there should be matches either starting right now or getting going in a few minutes. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
I don't know if I've shared this with anybody, but I knew I was retiring when we played in Buffalo. The Giants we were playing there. It was a game where it was really controversial because one of the guys held me at the end. They didn't call it. It was in the first quarter of the game. We were running like this counter lead running play, and I'm kind of like leading through the hole like I'm a fullback, and the play is working. But I sit down on the sideline after like a drive where we ran like 3 times, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I'm out here playing fullback. I don't even want to do this anymore. And I'm just like looking at the moon. It's like early first quarter, second quarter. Nobody else would really even know that I'm thinking this, but I'm on the sideline like, yep, I'm going to finish this year to the best of my ability, but I'm definitely done playing.
That is Darren Waller.
Who hasn't just once in a while just looked up at the moon?
I love that. We're all at the stadium. I remember that game. You know, the Bills win it against Tyrod and the Giants, and it was one of those ones where they win and we're mad because the offense looks like everything is hard.
14-9.
And meanwhile, during that game, Darren Waller looked at the moon and said, I'm retiring. Joe Marino joining us on the Western Hotline. Joe of the Locked On Bills podcast. Joe, you ever look at the moon and think about retirement? You know, I mean, it's just like Darren Waller.
I'm not sure I've been there. Maybe one day I'll get there.
Yeah.
That was only week 6, too.
Yeah.
Like, he played the rest of that season.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, Darren Waller's back for the Dolphins. Joe and I spent a little time talking about him, kind of remembering his career. And he was mildly productive in that final season with the Giants. And here's Miami pulling Waller out of retirement. He had an off-field injury scare and kind of lost his love of the game. I don't know. Like I'm sure there's plenty of feeling of a desperation move here for Miami. It is basically free. But welcome back, Darren Waller, who the Bills presumably will see twice.
Yeah, it's hard to really get good expectations for what Darren Waller is going to do this year as a player that retired, like you mentioned. He's obviously into his 30s now. It's been a while since he's been a big-time impact player in the league. So obviously the need's pretty big for Miami at tight end, and trading away Jonnu Smith and what they had in his replacements, Farrell Brown and another like depth player that's been there for a few years, Julian Hill. But it's quite the pivot because that Jonnu Smith role was really important for them last year, and I thought it opened up a lot for their overall offense, kind of having a third guy established to go with Waddle and Hill. And it says this doesn't feel like an upgrade in Eddie Veeds. I don't really know what to expect from him.
Yeah, it's so strange, like to have found money there in Jonnu Smith and what he really gave to them, and then to just say goodbye. You know, Joe Marino, the Locked On Bills podcast. Of course, we're always talking about the teams in the division. Miami has been a challenger for the Bills a couple of years, but come up short. The general feeling on Miami, Joe, if we could just stick here for a minute, is everybody seems to think, what are they doing exactly? The trade of Ramsey, I guess it got sour. The trade of Smith, they don't want to pay him. Their coach is back for another year. Tyreek Hill is concerned so much with Noah Lyles and racing. Like, Miami is very much in a what are they doing spot, and I'm not sure if you think Minkah Fitzpatrick solves any of their problems either.
No, I don't think Minkah solves anything. I say that's a bigger return than I was expecting for Ramsey. I thought they would trade Ramsey for like a 5th-round pick, so getting Minkah Fitzpatrick back and what that can mean for their safety room, I think, is a big deal. But obviously corner is just a massive concern, and they've got some cap space, so they'll probably sign somebody that's hopefully for them a functional starter. But this is definitely a peculiar year for Miami, and it certainly feels like, based on the choices they've made with the investments in the offensive line with James Daniels and Larry Borum, and they traded up for Jonas Savianaya, and then they added a couple of bigger backs in Ollie Gordon and Alexander Madison. You know, I think this team wants to become more inside run oriented, kind of a pivot you saw from Sean McVay and the Rams a few years ago, where everything was wide zone, pushing the perimeter, and then the Rams pivoted, and they got some bigger physical interior offensive linemen, some bigger backs, and started to really incorporate that. And so, I think that's where they want to go. I think they want to be a more physical downhill run team, and then obviously get their passing game going. It's still about Waddle and Hill, but last year that Jonnu Smith role in some ways was to overcome some of the deficiencies running the football, where they just didn't have the blocking talent on the edges to be a consistent offense that runs the ball. And I think they've made some personnel changes to kind of get them in a better position to do that. But my questions with Miami are really on defense. I think their offense is going to be fine. If Tua's healthy, they'll be a good offense. But defensively, what do they have in that secondary? At corner is just a big black eye. They're counting on Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips to come back from injury. They really didn't do anything last year, either of those players. Still very young on the defensive line outside of Zach Sealer on the interior players. So they got some stuff to figure out there defensively, and they'll have to coach above their talent to be a team that is in the mix for the playoffs, but could blow up. And I feel like there's certainly not a lot of good momentum there in Miami.
Real quick, back to Waller for a moment. If he's healthy, will that work? I mean, is that the type of tight end this run game needs? I mean, here he is talking about he knew he wanted to retire when they were putting him in at fullback to block. I mean, I feel like that's a troubling sign that he left the game because of that. And if you're Miami that has a tight end, that wants a tight end to run block, you might not be getting that.
No, not at all. Darren Waller is not going to help at all with the run blocking. He's a move tight end, right? He's a flex player that is probably more of a big slot than anything. Even different than Jonnu Smith. I think Jonnu Smith is more of a wing type player, kind of attached offset player, where Waller's not really going to help you in inline formations with the blocking, right? So to me, this also signals that Miami wants to get back to more 11 personnel, and maybe like that would get away from what I was kind of getting to with being less of an outside zone, crack toss oriented run scheme, and be more of an inside run team that relies less on your perimeter blockers and more on your interior guys where they have some bigger players. And then, you want to be able to space the field a little bit with formational width by having more spread formations. And then that's how you maximize Darren Waller when you have the speed elements of Hill and Waddle. So I think that's kind of the vision for their offense. But no, Waller specifically does not help their run game in any way, shape, or form.
Joe Marino on the Locked On Bills podcast, joining us here on WGR. 3 weeks out from camp, the Steelers side of it, Jalen Ramsey and also getting Jonnu Smith. The Steelers here, they are loading up, Joe, and the Bills will play Pittsburgh once. What is their ceiling, do you think, on this 1 year Aaron Rodgers experiment?
I think they can probably – this is a team that's had worse quarterbacks than Aaron Rodgers, worse offensive lines than they have right now. And I would say worse defense than they have right now, and still win 9 or 10 games and get to the playoffs and lose a game. So I think that their roster is in pretty good shape. I don't love Aaron Rodgers at all at quarterback, and I think he somewhat limits the team. But can he be better than Kenny Pickett? Can he be better than Mason Rudolph? And they're trying to just figure it out. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. I think he can be something like that. And with the elevated offensive line and the young pieces they have there, and I think their defense is pretty loaded, especially in the front. I think they're going to be a good team. I worry about Aaron Rodgers and whether or not he can just play his part. And I think that's been a challenge for Aaron Rodgers in his last 2 healthy seasons, was just playing his part and understanding how his game has to evolve based on some of his physical limitations. I still think the arm's there. I think he can make really good, accurate throws, but what made Aaron Rodgers a special player was how he can move within the pocket and extend plays and use his arm arrogance to do stuff. But I don't think he has the type of twitch and movement skills in the pocket anymore to do that. So can he just run the offense? And now you're looking at an offense that has these 3 tight ends and Washington, Freiermuth, and Jonnu Smith, a big receiver in Metcalf. Calvin Austin's kind of coming on. Like, Arthur Smith is the play caller here. There's going to be a lot of design stuff and play action and building off of the run concepts and a lot of, you involving the backs and tight ends in some quick passes. Like, will he just do that, or will he want to kind of play off script the way that we've seen him his last 2 healthy seasons? I think it's a big wild card, but Jeremy, I think you've convinced me if Pittsburgh goes to the playoffs and wins a game, I think that'd be pretty successful for kind of what the narratives have been out of Pittsburgh the last several years.
It would definitely rehab both Rodgers and Tomlin in their current versions, which both have been thought to be great. Both are probably Hall of Famers, but right now they might need each other to just get a little bit of a positive pub out of each other.
Yeah, I agree. And I always wonder, like, what does the ownership think of Mike Tomlin? Is it different than what we do? Is there some grace for not necessarily giving him a quarterback? How much blame does he get for the miscalculations at quarterback, but still being able to get the team to winning records in the postseason? Like, it's there's some tough layers there, but obviously the most important thing in the league is quarterback play, and they just haven't had it. And so, on one hand, I don't expect him to go win playoff games with Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson at this point in his career. And do I give Tomlin a lot of credit for being there? Yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes, but how much criticism does he get for not getting the quarterback piece right? And it feels like he's had a role. I mean, Trubisky, miscalculation. Kenny Pickett's a miscalculation. Russell Wilson, miscalculation. It's been pretty bad. Even late-stage Ben Roethlisberger really was tough to watch, but they still won games. So the credit-blame piece of Mike Tomlin can get a little complicated.
It really would feel like they'd have to get that AFC South matchup in the first round, wouldn't it? Because they could pull off, any team could pull off, it's the NFL, but nobody, I think, would envision them going to Kansas City or come here and win a playoff game like that.
Yeah, or Baltimore. I think if you're not Buffalo, Kansas City, or Baltimore, your whole objective in the AFC is to be the 5 seed and go play in Houston. Yep. Right, that's what you want to happen, and hope that Houston doesn't take advantage of that bad division and wind up winning 12 games and being a top 3 seed in the conference. I think that's what the story is in the AFC. And Pittsburgh, I think, can Pittsburgh be the 5 and go beat Houston? Sure. And I think that'd be a great year for them if that's what they can do. I don't think they can go any further, but I think that would be successful. I think that would turn around some things with how Tomlin's perceived, and Rodgers certainly. I don't think many people think fondly of what's happened to him over the last few years. And I think if he goes out like that, I think that'd be a solid ending.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast. All right, Joe, we are 3 weeks away from the start of training camp. We're getting there. Wednesday, 3 weeks from today, we'll be at St. John Fisher. What is the number one thing you are eager to see? In the first couple practices, like if you're there and you get to go watch a position group or go watch any one thing, what's the thing you would be most interested to see when you get there?
Yeah, I could say so many things, but you want me to pick one thing. I think I want to watch the corners. I want to see what type of comfort Maxwell Hairston has in his assignments. I want to see what type of athleticism Trey White has if he winds up having to start games this year. What type of comfort exists there. I'm curious about Dorian Strong and what type of ability he shows. Jordan Hancock, I want to see what the role is going to be as this hybrid slot safety player. I think that's where my eyes are going to be. Cole Bishop's development is probably the secondary. Yeah. I could talk myself into D-line. I certainly want to see these receivers. I want to see Kincaid, but it's probably the corners with the overall investments in that secondary, and see how it's coming along.
To pick between the D-line and the corners, would you be, I don't know, confidence is one, or variables of range of outcomes? I feel like what they've done on the defensive line, I expect that to be a pretty good, solid unit. I feel like Bosa, if healthy, along with the pieces they added in the draft, and Michael Hoyt and Ogunjobi once they get back, they've got veterans there, right? It's not a bunch of kids hoping to figure it out. So that might lead me to be a little more confident that that'll be good to go. But I don't know. That doesn't really have to be true. Would you have confidence up front that they're going to be a better unit than last year, just based on the sheer volume of changes that they made?
Yeah, they really should. And, I mean, you think about what's departing. It's 36-year-old Von Miller, and then 3 north of 30 defensive tackles in Austin Johnson, Jordan Phillips, and Quentin Jefferson. And all 4 of those guys are still looking for work. And that's what you said goodbye to while you welcome in, draft picks, established veterans. I feel like that should be in good shape. I mean, my goodness, with all the investments there, we cannot be having conversations next January and February about where was the defensive line impact. They've done the things that they needed to do to give themselves a chance to avoid that conversation. I think more of the uncertainty probably comes from the secondary, and obviously the secondary will benefit from what happens up front with their ability to wreak havoc and create pressure and create sacks and force pressured throws. But, yeah, I think there's a little bit more uncertainty with how the secondary comes together.
What about Milano for you, Joe, and linebacker at training camp and into the preseason? He might not play in the preseason, but the range of outcomes that we could get from him, how wide do you kind of consider that to be? Seeing him at the end of last year, but he also dealt with injuries and finally gets a full healthy offseason. I don't know, how wide do you think it is from the best case scenario for his 25 season to the worst case scenario?
Well, I think we saw him steadily improve upon his return last year. That gives me a lot of encouragement. I don't think it's going to be an issue of if he's available to play, right, and he's not injured and can't play. I think he's going to be at least as good as he was at the end of last season. I'm not super concerned that there's been athleticism zapped out of him. We've seen plenty of linebackers that are playing into their mid to late 30s, and Milano's going to be 31 this year. He's not that old. I think he'll be okay. It's just a matter of how durable can he be, because if he's available, I have a level of confidence that he can go out there and be an impact player for the defense. It's just, can he avoid something that's going to keep him off the field? And I think that's where my concerns lie. So if Milano can go, I feel good about what he can provide. It's, can he go, right? Is there going to be something along the way that keeps him on the sideline? And I think that's where the impact would be lost, would just be due to availability. If he's on the field, I have a level of confidence in Matt Milano and what he can get done for this defense.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast, joining us here on the Western Hotline, 3 weeks out from training camp. I know, Joe, one of your newest episodes you put out was about Joe Brady and wrinkles to the offense, and Joe and I here got in a conversation about Kincaid earlier. It kind of just flew off of the Waller return to the NFL. Is Kincaid someone you feel like Brady can get a lot more out of than he has?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you start with acknowledging that per route run last year, Dalton Kincaid was the most targeted tight end in the NFL. Like, the Bills want to throw him the ball. And he's had 2 seasons of really good route running metrics in terms of separation rates and 2 really good seasons of yards after catch metrics. So it really just comes down to, can Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid develop the chemistry that's necessary to maximize the opportunities that exist for Dalton Kincaid? And I think, of course, Dalton Kincaid needs to be durable and available and be stronger, right? Have the functional strength that the team's kind of called him out now for a couple of years on. That's what needs to happen. But ultimately, the opportunity is certainly there. And the role last year really was different. His average depth of target increased by 2 yards compared to the previous year. So I like where it's going, the idea of where it's going, if you will. It's just a matter of becoming more consistent with the outcome of the opportunities that he gets, which is partly on him. It's partly on Josh Allen. But I think as things become more stable, there was so much turnover last year with the offense. And I think that entering this year with really no turnover, I mean, you pretty much just say goodbye to Cooper and Hollins, you say hello to Palmer and Moore, and everything else is the same. Like, even the depth, the coaching staff, it should put this team in position to hit the ground running. And, I was actually recently going back and referencing a lot of the notes that I took throughout the course of last season. And last year, that team, third downs was not very good. They were running like 11 less plays per game than they were the previous season. And by the end of the year, the offense normalized and figured itself out. And so I think this offense is so much better equipped to hit the ground running this year. And it's no longer, Dalton Kincaid stepping in and there's a million vacated targets. I think there's a little bit more of an understanding of what everyone's going to need to do. And I think they'll hit the ground running a lot better than they did last year.
You also did a show building the Bills quarter century team. What did you find is the toughest position to decide on for that?
I guess maybe linebacker, because one thing that was pretty revealing to me is that the Bills haven't had a ton of linebackers that were very long tenured players. It was 4 years of London Fletcher and 3 years of Takeo spikes and Preston Brown for 4 years, but it was even that good. So it's like I wind up picking Matt Milano and London Fletcher, and London Fletcher was only like a 4-year answer for the team, and I guess that's a decent tenure for the Bills or for any team, right, or for any player. But I just felt like that was the one position where it's like, man, there's not like a true anchor here where you've had 8-10 years of really good play. So it's just a lot of different guys sneaking in. Kawika Mitchell, had his moment in the sun. So I guess that was probably the spot.
Yeah, because you had 4-year stints for like 4 different. I mean, Paul Posluszny is 4 years, right? Like it's just 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. Yeah.
Joe and I talked about this, the quarter century team, and there's one spot we disagreed, and whatever. As honorable mentions, I'll ask you, Sneaky Joe.
Well,
who are the 2 defensive ends should be on that team?
The 2 defensive ends.
The 2 defensive ends on the Bills' all quarter century team. Who'd you pick?
Schobel and Mario.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a complete. This is perfect.
I didn't think. I thought about that for 3 seconds. Though.
That's fine.
Yeah.
He went Schobel and Jerry Hughes. You went Schobel and Mario. For me, Mario has to be on the list because he was. Borderline dominant.
It's a peak versus longevity conversation here because does Hughes play more than double the games that Mario Williams does? But I remember, Joe, I think it was maybe in Hughes last year where he finally passed Williams on like the sack list. So, but again, like if you're going for someone who made an impact over a long period of time, I'm not going to argue hard against anyone that wants to put Jerry Hughes on there.
Yeah, I think that's where the disagreement came, and I don't have an argument for it. I mean, if you want to go with who had the most dominant stretch, it was the first 3 years of Mario Williams, and I think that's a heck of a case. But I leaned into the longevity. There was a point in time where he was, for many years, the longest tenured player on the team, and had a good run. But nope, he wasn't as dominant as Mario was for those 3 years.
Part of Schobel's, mystique is that he retired and he just disappeared. Right,
never to be heard from again.
If they rolled out Aaron Schobel as legend of the game this year, right? Like,
it'd be crazy. I remember Eric Wood getting. I think at one point Mike or Chris asked Eric Wood about it. I was like, I don't think I've talked to him since like we played together.
He's just gone. So anyway,
the other mystique is I think his best stat is he has the most sacks on Tom Brady ever.
All right,
I think he still has.
Really?
I think he still has that title. He had it at one point. So I'll look that up.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast. He also does the Bills Squad Show with me and Jerry Ostrowski every Monday and Thursday. That's part of the Bills. It's part of the Locked On Bills channel. You can stream that on YouTube. We talked about that Mario conversation. And I kind of inadvertently found my way to Mario and Diggs being the exact same. 3 dominant years. Year 4, it starts to go south, and people change the way they think about it, and it's over.
At least with Diggs, it was 3.5 years.
Okay, Mario was,
but it's close enough.
Mario was first team and second team All-Pro in back-to-back seasons, and then year 4, it's Rex is dropping him into coverage. He had 5 sacks. Then
it was ridiculous.
Then he's out of the league.
Yeah, 1 year with Miami, and
it's over,
and then it was over. First team All-Pro, 2 more years. With 6.5 sacks combined.
And done.
And it's done.
Yeah.
So he had, in 4 years, 43 sacks.
For the Bills.
So that is in...
So 3 years...
63 games, 43 sacks. Yeah. Right?
And just go the first 3 years, the numbers are eye-popping. He was great.
Right. But even if I include the bad year, 43 and 63, whereas Jerry Hughes had 53 sacks in 144 games.
Yeah.
He played 80 more games.
And then 5 more sacks?
10 more sacks.
10 more sacks, okay, yeah. 803-0550. Good stuff. You can check out, of course, the Locked On Bills podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, including right in the Odyssey app.
Schobel does have the most sacks on Tom Brady still. Well, still. He has it forever now, I think.
Are you ready for the new Tom Brady dating rumor? Did you see who it is?
Yes. This came out of the 3-day Jeff Bezos wedding.
Yes. Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah. That's the rumor.
All right.
Brady.
803-0550 to join us if you'd like to.
Just won't leave us alone.
He's just at a wedding.
I hope Rodgers is true to his word. That he's just going to disappear into the forest somewhere.
Rodgers is secret married.
I still don't think I believe that he's actually married.
I don't know.
Yesterday, did you see the pictures of him in a Steeler uniform? Very conspicuous, like his new threads for Aaron Rodgers. They cut off the picture right above his finger. Maybe that's normal, but maybe I'm going way too far with him. Like this is the continuing the. He wants people talking about: is he actually married? Is he not married?
I don't know if he is. I did read the full Yahoo article about whether or not he might be or might not. I don't know.
Well, if he's not, it's incredible,
right? To have claimed that he is.
Would that? Well, he didn't claim that he was. He just said, "I'm wearing a wedding ring." Right? I don't think he actually claimed he got married.
He said he got married. He said he got married.
He did?
Yes, he said he got married.
I'm going to look at the quote again, but I'll believe you. I thought he did the whole, I didn't actually say it this way thing. Left himself an out. Maybe not, though.
803-0550. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals. And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem: he's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe. But, statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So, he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. Mm-hmm. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? They have a lot of those middle contracts. I was looking at this morning, comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Dahlin as the big contract, $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11, but guys that make 4+, they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than Toronto and Edmonton and a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Darlene, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million plus. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Free agency day number 1 for the Sabres yesterday featured Ryan McLeod signing an extension, 4 years, $5 million per year. He was an RFA. From outside teams, the Sabres sign Alex Lyon, goalie of the Red Wings, who played about 70 games in the last 2 seasons for Detroit. That's a 2-year deal, $1.5 million. They just made official the signing of Justin Danforth, a 4th liner from Columbus. That's 2 years, $1.8 million. He replaces Sam Lafferty, who was traded away yesterday to Chicago for a 6th-round pick. To football, Darren Waller back in the NFL. Had retired last year. Giants traded him yesterday to Miami, where he will return to the NFL at 33 years old. There is a allegation against Maxwell Hairston, now a lawsuit against the Bills' first-round rookie, alleging sexual assault at Kentucky in 2021. The Bills were aware of the allegation, at least as Brandon Beane talked about it on the night of the NFL draft. Wimbledon back up and running. Yesterday, you had big upsets on the women's side. Coco Gauff and Jessie Pegula already eliminated in round 1. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
I think they can probably – I mean, this is a team that's had worse quarterbacks than Aaron Rodgers, worse offensive lines than they have right now, and I would say worse defenses than they have right now, and still win 9 or 10 games and get to the playoffs and lose a game. So I think that their roster is in pretty good shape. I don't love Aaron Rodgers at all at quarterback, and I think he somewhat limits the team. But can he be better than Kenny Pickett? Can he be better than Mason Rudolph and they're trying to just figure it out. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. I think he can be, something like that.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast. We had our chat with him last segment. If you want to go back and rip into that. Little on the Steelers-Dolphins trade. A lot of the Bills 3 weeks out from training camp. The Bills hit St. John Fisher for their first practice 3 weeks and an hour and 8 minutes from now. I like that, right? 9:45 Wednesday.
3 weeks, an hour and 8 minutes.
Yes, 9:45.
Okay. We can do it for 3 weeks.
We're going to have to do the thing where we bet who's the first player to walk out for camp. Set the tone.
Yeah.
First player on the field. Who will it be?
Last year it was Mac Hollins, right?
I think so.
He was out on that auxiliary field right to there's the field they practice on. Is that Brownie Stadium? No, that's the other field.
Brownie, yeah.
Brownie Stadium, excuse me. Food on the brain. They practice on that field on the left from where we are, and then there's another field on the right, which is usually just the special teamers. And Mac Hollins was out there at like 5:40 in the morning, hours before. And then I think he was the first out. So who's that this year? That's
The first Bills player out of the field. We got weeks to think about it.
Yeah.
I'll get a pick in. I'm gonna get a good pick in. I'm gonna feel good about this pick. It's gonna be, I don't know. Who jumps out at you? We should have a draft.
Keon Coleman.
Sorry. Here's a
What
lesson. I was going to go to Kevin's golf. Kevin in North Tonawanda. He's online. I'm going to go to him in 2 seconds. Waited too long. The call
Does that set the record as like hands on the mouse?
Yeah, the call said Kevin in North Tonawanda was in a scramble last week. And I'm just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good story. Kevin, what happened?
If he wants to call back, I would love a good scramble story.
Who doesn't love a good scramble story?
Yeah. I just saw an interesting list. Tej Seth, who I think we've had on the show before.
Yes,
football
analytics
data
guy.
scientist.
Yeah.
He just posted a list of, doing it by EPA, the most highly volatile quarterbacks in the league the last 3 seasons.
Okay.
So, who comes to mind? The most volatile quarterbacks in the league.
The narrative would be like Josh is volatile because of turnovers. I would go with Jameis Winston.
Jameis is number 2.
Okay.
Joe Flacco is number 1. You got a lot of bad quarterbacks on here, right? Darnold is kind of high on the list. So it goes Flacco, Winston, Zappy, Drew Lock, Will Levis is the top 5. And then number 6, and actually I'll tell you where Josh is. Josh is, he does 59 quarterbacks here, and Josh is 40th.
And not that volatile.
Doesn't fit the narrative.
Just
not volatile
pretty
at all.
consistently awesome.
Right. This guy, I don't think gets as much of volatile, reckless type of mindset. But number 6, most volatile quarterbacks in the league last 3 seasons is Tua. Totally reckless. Fumbles all the time, throws bad interceptions. So isn't that the opposite of the narrative on both of them? Josh is seen as reckless. And isn't Tua seen more as game manager?
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone says take care of the football, but he definitely gets the game manager, point guard type of references. And he's as volatile as you get for a regular starter.
803-0550. Kevin in North Tonawanda, who was in a scramble, is back. Hey, Kevin, what's up?
Hey, I was telling that I play in a scramble every year, and they, minus 14 was winning it, and these guys are not that great of golfers. So this year, they made you bring a 5th person. Could be a guy, girl, and they had to keep score for a different team. Your guy went got to sign with another team and had to keep score. That minus 14 went to a +3, won it this year.
Wow.
And they give away good prizes. I was shocked at how big of a difference it was.
What's the incentive for the auditor, the chaperone? Do they get anything for going with a group of people they don't know and keeping their score?
Nope. You just you had to bring a 5th. We bought one of the golfers' fathers, and they just they can drink beer and stuff.
Sure.
They ride around, and all they do is keep the score of another team. And
wow.
It was just fascinating how when you kept an eye on somebody, how the score came up so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. This is the first I've ever heard of an audit of scrambles.
Yeah.
Is this the future? You bring a 5th, and your 5th has to go with a different group and keep their score. Now, could it not tilt the other way? What do you mean? We didn't bogey that hole. Yes, you did. You all missed that close putt. No, we made that putt. I don't know. I don't.
It's above the loyalty of the game, or the not the loyalty of the game, but the you gotta stay true. You gotta stay true.
Integrity,
to your score. Integrity of it. Yeah. I don't need 5 in a group. Where does he have his own cart? It's too much. Too much.
Deep down, don't we all kind of like that the person that won the scramble is thought to have cheated?
Oh yeah. Oh, totally.
We need that.
Yeah.
When I'm in a group and I finish
by a couple strokes,
yeah,
and
you
it's
could
like,
just say they cheated.
These guys, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
They
listen.
6 under, really?
We played great. They cheated. We played great. Right. They are liars who should be ashamed of themselves.
I think we did that at a scramble we played at earlier in the year. There was a group somewhere in front of us where I think we're like, I don't know about these guys.
Yeah, you watch 3 swings.
I see the scoreboard. I don't know about these guys.
They're not minus 12. Right. I watched 3 tee shots, and I can tell you right now, firmly, that is not a minus 12 group.
Really, golf is just fully just questioning the skill level of the person you're playing with at all times, right? Like, if especially if you know their handicap. Like, oh, this guy's a 10, and he's hitting, like, he's topping the ball. Like, this guy's not a 10. And then on the other hand, if he's shooting really well, he's having a great day, he's like, this is BS. This guy's not a 10. He's like a 6. I'm getting hosed.
It's the beauty of golf. When we were out in my whole family, we went to Pebble Beach for that big, huge trip to play Pebble in Harding Park and Spyglass like 4 years ago. We had a room overlooking the 18th at Pebble. You know, it comes up on the ocean.
Nice.
You're staying on Pebble's property. It was incredible, like once in a lifetime kind of thing. And after our round, we all got to the balcony patio out there. It's pretty big. And we played a game where we would watch the group on the tee and watch one practice swing on the tee and then start to bet birdie, bogey, double. You watch one swing, and he's like, oh, this is a double bogey all the way. We don't know who these people are. It's just 200 yards off practice swing. Oh, par. This guy's going to par this par 5.
Yeah.
And, gambling on other people playing golf from a balcony based on a practice swing. That's what we did. After throwing bocce balls off the second floor balcony to different spots. After that ran its course, gambling on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Not
bocce, sorry, golf balls. We had to have a target.
I was going to say, I was just about to ask, you brought bocce balls
we were effectively playing bocce with golf balls.
Okay.
And betting on that.
Gotcha.
Good times. 803-0550, Worst Call Wednesday coming up in a moment. And it's a good one. I mean, it's a bad call. Sophie Cunningham makes her first appearance on Worst Call Wednesday. The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like, they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like, I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Dahlin as the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11, but guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Dahlin, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million+. Greenway, Tuch, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like, it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts.
That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals. And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem: he's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen. I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year, too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd, and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher, and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe, but statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number one goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
Wednesday, brought to you by Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center.
All right, so worst call Wednesday. The WNBA has some stars, of course. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Sophie Cunningham is going to go for worst call Wednesday here. Did you see what she said about the WNBA's upcoming expansion?
I saw she had some things to say about Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
On one hand, I respect a good villain, and I'm going to want villains everywhere.
Yeah.
The WNBA is going to expand to Cleveland and Detroit, which is kind of, wow. By the way, I'd love to get a WNBA team here, and if that could ever happen, that'd be amazing. But anyway, she's asked about it, and let's just say, the league would probably not appreciate what she had to say.
NBA side, because it is helpful. It's way more helpful. You just get more purchases, more opportunities, and so I get that aspect. But I also think that you want to listen to your players too. Where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? And I do think that Miami would have been a great one. Everyone loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's chasing. And I think that the Women's Soccer League is showing that people draw. And so I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not expanding our league too fast. I think that's also another thing, that you don't want teams to totally dominate and then have teams that aren't. And so I just think that it's kind of a hard decision-making situation. But, man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit or Cincinnati.
I don't know how excited people are to go to Cleveland and Detroit. League expanding.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't like those places.
Right out of the gate.
Villain right out of the gate. What about Miami? What about Nashville?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was funny.
Cleveland and Detroit.
Look, we're not the only place that gets shots fired.
No.
Although it would
those two are
she would definitely
usually aligned sometimes.
Yeah, she would definitely say it about Buffalo, would she not?
Oh, if Buffalo was getting an expansion WNBA team, I'm sure she would have just lumped them in with that group. Yeah.
Worst call Wednesday, brought to you by Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. That was the worst call, on the field, Sophie Cunningham. Although, like I said, I still think it's kind of funny. One of the worst calls you could make is to skip your recommended cancer screenings. To learn more about potentially life-saving screening recommendations and guidelines, visit roswellpark.org/screening.
Do you know what this was, by the way, that they won yesterday?
Who?
The Indiana Fever. I saw Caitlin Clark and them with a trophy. And I guess I did not know they have an in-season tournament.
I did not know that either.
In the WNBA. But they also have an in-season tournament that they won yesterday. So maybe it was the first one.
All right.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. They've had it for a couple years. But I've been very thankful that Caitlin Clark exists for months like this where there's not a lot going on in sports. And basically whenever the Fever are on like ESPN or something, I'm going to stop on it. I might not watch the whole game, but I'm going to stop on it.
I definitely put it on.
I'm choosing it over, Flornays and whoever in the Club World Cup right now that soccer's trying to get rolling.
You could convince me the Club World Cup is not actually happening, but is just some sort of series of AI articles that have been written.
It's not actually real.
I don't believe these games are actually happening.
That would really be clickbait. If everyone's, hey guys, we're all going to get together. We're going to pretend these games are actually happening, but they're not actually.
Dortmund beats Monterrey yesterday.
Yeah,
congratulations.
I guess these teams are playing their A squads.
Yeah,
but I still don't. I mean, this is normal though. A first-time competition. I know this has happened before, but it's really the first time they've done it. A first-time competition is not going to feel special because there's no history behind it. So maybe in 5 years, I'll care about it, especially if my team is in it. But I just have no. Man City lost to a team from Saudi Arabia on Monday. Everyone's like, what an upset. I'm like, okay, cool. Al Hilal won. Sweet. Am I going to watch them now in the championship? I'm not into it.
803-0550. When we get back, I have a question about a roller coaster for you guys.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love good roller coasters.
A new roller coaster had a malfunction, and yeah.
Like a bad one?
It's just an interesting story. I want to tell you about it. Everybody's okay, but...
Okay, that's what I was...
Yeah, everybody's okay. Good. It's just...
that's what I was hoping for.
Pretty intense moments. That's next. But the other NFL note is, file this one under, you'll love to see it, Joe. At NFL.com, Chad Ryder.
Yep.
NFL.com writer. He has a 7-round super draft of active NFL players.
Okay.
So, click, what is every Bills fan clicking to see?
Who they end up with at quarterback.
Who the Bills end up with quarterback?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, where Josh Allen goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Josh Allen go, according to Chad Ryder, in an NFL super draft? He basically just used this last year's draft order. Titans, number 1 pick. They take?
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Number 1?
Which is another way to say, here's one more person saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in the NFL. Mahomes, 2.
Okay.
Lamar, 3. And on it goes for a full 7-round snake draft.
That is some effort right there.
The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. Mm-hmm. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like, they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like, I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Darlene as the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Darlene makes 11, but guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Darlene, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million plus. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Day one of free agency in the NHL yesterday. The Sabres take care of one of their own with an extension for Ryan McLeod. 4 years, $5 million per year, coming off his 20-goal season. He was a restricted free agent. The Sabres still have to sign Devin Levi, Connor Timmins, and Bo Byram if they don't trade Byram, although there are still rumors and reports about that. They also bring in Alex Lyon, goalie from Detroit, 2-year deal, and fourth liner Justin Danforth on a 2-year deal as well from Columbus. In football, Darren Waller is going to the Miami Dolphins in a trade. He's coming out of retirement to play for the Dolphins. That's just a swap of late-round picks. There is a civil lawsuit this morning against Bills' first-round rookie Maxwell Hairston, alleging sexual assault. Brandon Beane spoke about the allegation at the night of the draft, so the Bills were aware of it. The allegation at that point, but now it's turned into a lawsuit. And in tennis, Wimbledon is back underway. Yesterday, big upsets for Coco Gauff and Jesse Pegula. Both of their tournaments already over, losing in the first round. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership.
I mean, obviously, the winning regimen they've put up through the last 5 years, of really since they've been in the league. Got such a competitive team every year, got such good players here. You know, the living arrangements from talking to Pacioretty and Revo just through the last couple weeks, you know, it seemed like everything was a pretty good fit for my wife and I and our new son. And, yeah, the winning aspect of this team really helped in everything as well. And, the great players they have here. So lucky enough, it all worked out, and this is where we wanted to be.
That's Mitch Marner. Who's Revo? Former Golden Knight that is now with the Leafs because Ryan Reeves. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Because Pacioretty and Reeves, he's talking about Vegas with his teammates last couple of weeks. That's not tampering? Isn't that tampering with your own teammate by telling him? No.
How about a couple of people pointed this out that no one in the press conference with Kelly McCrimmon, the GM of the Golden Knights, even asked him about the tampering allegation. But yet there was a question asked, I guess, about whether long-term injured reserve players go on the salary cap. So you got much more simplistic looking press conferences in Vegas, maybe.
Yeah.
But nobody even brought it up with them. The idea that they might have tampered with Mitch Marner, which they almost definitely did. Also, yesterday, I don't know if anyone was waiting for 12:01 for a bunch of signings. I guess the league had been waiting to hammer somebody on tampering, so nobody announced any of their signings for 15 minutes because they were afraid the league was going to kick in their door and take their draft picks away or something. So there was nothing until I think 12:16 was the first free agent signing. Even though they definitely were all done by 12:01.
Yep. All right. I told you about
it's all stupid.
Roller coaster story I wanted to tell you just because I found this one to be a little bit more interesting than most.
Yes.
So, all right, here's a fun little summer story. Cedar Point. You ever been to Cedar Point?
I have.
I have
yes.
not been to Cedar Point.
I've been to Cedar Point.
Joe
Top
Owen,
Thrill Dragster.
Joe Kelly filling in for Josh Schmidt today. You guys been to Cedar Point?
I have not been to Cedar Point, unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
Never been either.
Okay, well, whatever.
If you're 16 roller coasters or something.
What is it? Top Thrill Dragster?
Top Thrill Dragster, which I've been on. I had a big roller coaster phase. We went to, I think actually just got taken down. Top Thrill Dragster was the second biggest roller coaster in the world. I went on that, and then we went to Six Flags New Jersey because they had the tallest roller coaster in the world,
King Ka.
And I have a shirt still maybe that says King Ka on it. I don't know. I've been on that too.
So you're someone that will not turn down any roller coaster.
No, I'll go on any of them.
I'm the same way, Joe. I love them. Bulldog also is a massive roller coaster guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can't imagine a roller coaster I would say no to.
I'm on every roller coaster as well. It started at Darien Lake around here, and it'll go from there.
Yeah. All right, perfect. You guys will go on any roller coaster.
Pretty much.
So this is a great test. So Cedar Point has a new coaster called the Siren's Curse.
Okay.
And what happened, I guess, yesterday, let me pull up my webpage changed, but I'm going to get it back. What happened yesterday, Siren's Curse is this coaster where you're in the thing, it goes along flat. I'm demonstrating for those of you on YouTube. Picture me holding my arm. My arm is on the window.
His arm is level.
My arm is on the window sill of the car you're driving, truck.
Okay.
And you pull out onto a spot, and then it flips completely downward 90 degrees, twisting from horizontal to vertical. They hold you in that vertical spot. Instead of going over a hill and using that, it is a straight drop into the coaster. So you go up, and the whole thing...
And it holds you there.
Like a drawbridge.
Oh. Yeah.
Completely vertical. You stay in that position, and then it drops you. So what happened, it's called a tilt roller coaster. This is what this kind of coaster is.
Okay.
What happened yesterday was riders were suspended in the vertical position at that point for 10 minutes. It got stuck.
While it's facing straight down?
I think so.
Okay.
They were then pulled backwards to safety, and they had to reset the ride and repair it for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And the way that it's written at Yahoo's recap of this story is that it seems like the people that were on it just got right back on and then ripped down that thing after it was fixed for 25 minutes.
They went right back on.
So my question is, there's no coaster you would say no to. Would you say no if you were on it, it broke, and then they're like, oh, all right, we're good to go now?
Yeah.
Or would you want to see a couple of runs first?
I think I'd want to see a couple of runs first.
Okay.
I mean, it got stuck. It's broken, but it's not great.
It's definitely not great.
Any sort of
not
malfunction.
By any means. I would need to see a couple runs at least, a test run.
I think I would go on it that day, though.
Sure. I mean, it's cleared. It's open.
Am I sitting on it for the 30 minutes they're repairing it as well? Am I stuck on the roller coaster for like an hour?
Right. Am I still in the car?
Do I get time to
they let
stretch
me
out?
off?
I think
because if I'm the one guy who's like getting off, like you got to get me off this ride because they're just gonna launch it anyway. I guess
what I'm getting to is my concern is mostly with how comfortable I will still be on the ride physically rather than worried about it breaking.
The riders were stuck for 10 minutes. They had to get off, and it was closed for 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I'm jumping right back on.
Okay.
If you got a 25-minute reprieve, absolutely. I'd go right back on.
I think I'm looking at the giant platform. They might have had to wait on the platform while it was fixed. How else are you getting down?
Even better, I get to watch them do the work.
Reverse you all the way back.
To inspect.
Right. Yeah, I mean, unless you're going down like a fire escape or something.
I don't imagine I'd be that, like, dizzy or anything because I'm not being held upside down or anything. I'm being held
vertical.
Vertical, which...
Probably got some hip pain.
Maybe.
It is a 160-foot tall lift.
That's nothing.
That drops.
That's nothing.
So they got stuck right at the top?
Yeah.
It's child's play. 160.
What's King Dakota?
It's like 470 or something, I think. There's a Top Thrill Dragster 2, by the way, as I'm looking up this ride.
Yeah.
There's a sequel.
King Dakota was 456 feet.
456, yeah.
Launched riders 128 miles per hour.
Yeah, there you go. 160. Come on.
That's awesome.
Man.
I mean, you're a maniac.
Are you someone that goes on all of these roller? None of them?
No.
Just no appeal?
No.
Is it the ride or is it like the waiting an hour and a half to ride something that's 90 seconds?
I think it's that I just never did. I did a couple as a kid, like not that many, but I never did.
It's not an amusement park guy.
I used to be horrified of them, and then one year when I was younger at Darien Lake, I went with Dad, Bulldog, and we. He was like, "You want to go on a roller coaster?" I was like, "Not really. I'm kind of scared of it. It's just not my thing." He was like, "Well, I really want to go on a roller coaster. So either you're going on a roller coaster with me, or you're going to watch me go on a roller coaster." All right. I got on. I sat next to him, and he laughed.
I was just going to say, like, there's one thing I can definitely predict. It's that he laughs maniacally the entire time.
Like a madman. Exactly. Like the Joker. I will never make him laugh like he laughs on a roller coaster.
Oh, I believe that.
And because he had, like, it was so joyous for him, I, since then, have loved them ever since. It's this weird, like, he transferred this passion for roller coasters to me because he sounded like the Joker on the roller coaster.
I think you guys should look up a nice trip to Cedar Point, maybe. There are 19 roller coasters.
Wow, look at that.
Wow.
19.
Richard writes in, I was stuck on the Viper at Darien Lake upside down on the second loop.
Woo!
See, that's the
that
roller
would be
coaster that
worse.
changed me right there. The upside down stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I got into it.
Same. The upside down, I think I would need like an hour to recover just to make sure. Like I'm
got some vertigo.
How long was I held upside down for matters here too. But that's way worse than I think being held vertically down. Way worse.
Upside down would be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the ones where your legs are dangling?
That's the one that actually I am speaking of where Bulldog was laughing like a maniac.
Yeah. Your legs are dangling. Those ones always go upside down too.
The one thing that scared me as a giant tall person was I felt like my leg was close to a couple of like posts.
But you probably in reality were like 5 feet, 10 feet away.
But it's just,
at least.
You're up there and whoa.
It feels like you're
freaky.
Yeah.
And that was definitely scary. I also one time went on the Superman I was in 8th grade. Went on the Superman once and then tried to get on it again and they said, we got to make sure how tall you are. And they went and measured me and I was like 3 inches too tall to be on the Superman.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
And I was like, I rode this today. What? Nobody did this before I rode this ride today?
Something here is problematic.
I was not pumped when that happened. We got to say that was scary.
Yeah. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Happy Wednesday. I have to look at my day of the week clock, what day it is.
Well, this is a weird week. I mean, there's only one more work day.
That's right.
After today.
We're back tomorrow, and then we're on to the 4th of July, and then I'm off next week.
Yep.
I've started counting how many days until we're at camp. And for me, tomorrow, then 5 days after I'm back from vacation, and then 2 days. And that's it. We're driving to Rochester 3 weeks from today.
Yep, you've got, 8 shows? So that's 8 shows?
8 shows.
8 shows until training camp?
Yeah. Not bad.
Yep. Rochester. I hope they stay there. Well, they just signed never mind. They just signed a long-term deal, didn't they, with St. John Fisher?
They have not signed a long-term deal. There's a report that they're looking to a long-term deal, but
that's right.
That's not completed just yet. I think it was Sal Mariana who had that.
But good, because it's always been like, will they year to year? They're always doing year-to-year deals. If there's a new stadium, will they stay here? But yeah, it sounds like maybe they want to stay there for as long as they can.
Yeah. So on Bo Byram, back to this, I tweeted this out, and it's funny. Like I'd like to get someone to have a better idea than this, and I'm sure there is a better idea, but I am slowly and predictably coming around to the idea that getting a potential bad team to offer sheet Byram is the best thing that could happen.
Because you want the draft pick.
Because an unprotected first for a potential bad team. And this is where the only thing the pushback, of course, is you're not getting better this year. Okay.
You're not getting anything this year.
That's okay. I had one person say, I want the team to win now, and you want to tank. I'm not saying tank. I'm asking, what's the best I could get back for Byram? You could do your best win now return, and maybe that's an offensive forward. Okay, go for that. Sure. If you can make that happen, then great. But if Kevin Adams is really, really struggling to get a deal because no movement clause here and no movement clause there, and we're not going to part ways with that guy. What's a better idea than, hey, they signed an offer sheet. It was too good to turn down. It's a first, a second, and a third because they gave him 7.5. If you're Adams, that's a spot where you're not tanking. You can still try to pursue another defenseman. You could try to pursue somebody. They're not going to trade him for a defenseman. Your defense score might already be set if you're going to trade him. All right, I got to find a forward. You can go pay for a forward here or there. You can trade for one if you can with a second or third round pick. You don't have to limit it to a team that's taking Byram.
Right.
You're more open to, I got to find a forward. Who will give me a forward? Here's Noah Ostlund and a second.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't know. Like, it just feels like the Byram idea, we are talking about 5 teams. And if Byram gets offer sheeted and he is gone, we were not going to match that offer sheet. We wish Bo the best. We take a first, second, and a third. Privately, all right, baby, let's watch that team hopefully fall into the earth and get an unprotected first-round pick. And then we can still try to attack win now and say we didn't get good value. He signed that, and that was better value than we got anywhere else. And I can come out of the offseason. This is a little bit like, not exactly like the Rams just traded down in the first round and got an extra first next year. Right?
Right. Yeah. With the Falcons, right?
With the Falcons.
Yeah.
And they're trying to win now and added a future first.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills, when they did the Trey White trade, traded down, got a future first and won now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean they have to tank. If they are bad, then that happens. But if the return on Byram is not going to be good enough, I think there are a lot worse ideas than an unprotected first from a team that you think has a shot to be bad.
Even though it is going to be probably just a couple of percentage points, right? To pick number 1 at least.
Right. It might be 5%. Or it might be, again, like you're taking your chances that this team won't be good. This Calgary or
like I guess
Pittsburgh.
My question would be or maybe there is no limit here. How far down does that team have to to feel like it was worth doing? If they are 6th from the bottom and you get an extra 7.5% chance, does that feel worth it?
I mean, would you trade Bo Byram for next year's 6th pick?
See, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think I probably wouldn't.
But the tough part of this is you don't know the other deals.
Yeah, that's right.
How many teams are making offers? Is it 2?
Like real, tangible offers? It depends. How many teams are offering me picks? How many teams? Maybe it's 2 teams are offering me something on my roster, and then everybody else just wants to give me picks.
All right, here it is. Byram for 2 players and a 3rd-round pick. No matter who the players are, can that possibly be good? We're talking about lots of these 1-for-2 trades. I was hoping this Sabres offseason would include a 2 go out and 1 comes in. That the best player in a trade comes this way. In the Purka trade, that did not happen. Right?
No.
It did not happen.
No, it did not.
In the Byram trade, do you think it's likely to happen that the best player comes back this way? Now that the number 9 pick is already spent, and now that Purka's already been dealt, what are the chances the best piece comes back this way in the Byram deal?
I would imagine they're low. I would imagine that it's much more likely that he's the best player in the deal. Is it 20% chance maybe that he would be packaged with something and you'd be getting a better player? I mean, they might have tried to do that with Purka.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whether it was Dobson or Kyrou or someone else, I don't know. Maybe they were trying to do a Purka with somebody, and if a team wants Purka, why are they doing that? If a team wants Bo Byram, are they viewing him as a finishing piece? Why are they going to give you the best player in a deal? Byram is the one that is on the trade market. So if you could find a guy that also is being shopped around, then maybe that's how you get a 1-for-1 deal. But like I've punted on the idea in my own mind that they're going to get Jason Robertson or Elias Pettersson by trading Bo Byram and then something else with it. I mean, what would that something else even be right now? Zach Benson? What is that even? That should get you a good forward in theory if this was a video game, but I don't know who the team is right now that is giving you their first-line left winger for Bo Byram and Zach Benson. I don't know who that team is. Maybe it is out there.
Can I give you one more scenario? You can tell me which one is a better idea. All right, you want to win now, right? If you're upset by the idea of he gets offer sheeted, you get an unprotected first. Again, unprotected firsts are rare. It doesn't happen. The Leafs make a trade; they protect their first. It's like you have 100 points. What are you worried about here?
Yeah.
So here's your next idea, Kevin Adams. Offer your first next year, unprotected.
Offer your first?
Offer your first, unprotected. How many teams would look at that and say, well?
I think you
I
would.
might have. Did you tell me the Buffalo Sabres are offering me an unprotected first?
I'm imagining.
I am at the table. Am I not?
You are. You are. I think you have every team in the league offering you something.
So, want to do it? Want to offer that first unprotected?
I do not want to.
Why not?
I do not want.
You're telling me that a 7% added chance at winning the lottery is not enough. But if the Sabres make a move, keep Byram, get better now, trade an unprotected first, what are they going to do? Miss the playoffs by a couple points? You're worried about a 1%?
It's got to be a pretty darn good player for me to be willing to do that. I guess it's just not having confidence in them.
Right, I know.
It's not having confidence in them and feeling like it's perfectly believable that they're going to be a team this year that has like 73 points. And I think that's more believable than almost any. If you could find me, if San Jose wants to give me their first round pick next year for Bo Byram, I mean, I'll give them other stuff. What else do you want with Byram to get San Jose's first round pick?
But nobody that ever flirts with being bad ever gives it up unprotected.
No, that's perfectly.
That's where the offer sheet that you can't protect it.
See, like a good team to target here would be like how good does Boston really think they're going to be?
Better than the Sabres.
I think they think that, and maybe they would be better than the Sabres. I don't think they're going to be very good though. I think their team is still pretty tough looking, and that would be a team where I would say they've got a certain arrogance about them that they have earned because they've been great for a long time. But I'm going to capitalize on that arrogance because their first-line center right now is Casey Middlestat, and I'm going to cash in on that and say, you're not going to be as good as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a team I'd want to target.
Unless they know they're not going to be good.
Fraser Minton is their second-line center.
Who?
Oh, wait, sorry, no, Elias Lindholm.
I have this conversation with you guys thought about Boston for this because I think they're going to be bad. Like bad.
I just don't think their players are good.
I don't think they have anybody. Like the deal they made yesterday for
Victor
Arvidsson and the Tanner Jeannot deal.
Yeah, they're just taking other teams' scraps.
What are they doing with that? I think that would be a really solid team to target because I think exactly like you said, they're arrogant enough to think we'll be good. We'll figure it out.
I think, I'm not telling you Boston's going to be good, but Boston did a very predictable thing that we all in our hater heart and our sad woe is me heart knew was going to happen. They got bad for 3 months and picked ahead of the Sabres. That's it.
Yep.
They got bad for 3 months. You know what the record was in February, March, and April?
It was good, right?
No, the Boston.
Oh, February, March at the end of the season. Oh,
Yeah.
it was terrible.
In the last 3 months of the season, the Bruins won 8 games.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They were that bad, though. Everyone was they were in a playoff spot midway through the season, and everybody was looking at all their numbers like, this team is terrible. Like, they are going to fall apart. Maybe no one thought they'd be that bad. But
just to be clear, the last 3 months of the season, they won 8 games and finished 3 points behind the Sabres.
And to counterpoint, like me and Joe here a little bit.
Yeah, that's insane.
McAvoy was out for that whole stretch, too. And that's a big piece for them. So,
would you bet the Sabres ahead of the Bruins next year? Right now?
I feel like if you took the logos and who runs the teams away and I just stacked up the rosters, I feel like I'd want to say the Sabres. But I think I'd say the Bruins.
I think Swayman bounce back is enough of a factor.
That's another thing.
To make that fine.
I'd be more confident they get the goalie. It's confidence in the organization. It's a little bit of, right now on paper, I feel like the Sabres have a better roster than the Bruins do. But if both teams get off to slow starts for the first month or two, who do I trust more to make a move that's going to help them?
If they want to. Would Boston...
Don't I trust Boston's going to do that?
You might ask if Boston would want to. I mean, if Boston... If either of these teams has a bad start, that's a great question. Like, I mean, I can't even get there.
I mean, the Sabres could fire Adams.
I'm about to ask...
If they get off to a really bad start.
Would they even try to save it? What would the Bruins do if they got off to a bad start? What would the Sabres do? What the Bruins might do would be say, all right, another year, let's lean into it. We're going to sign Eichel. We're going to draft high. We just drafted 6th overall.
Ooh, I wonder about that.
If they have a bad start, do they try and save it?
That's more how they usually are.
Okay. And the Sabres, if they have a bad start, does Kevin Adams try to save it?
No.
He never does.
Never
He
does.
didn't save a 13-game losing streak. He didn't act.
Right.
If they get off to a bad start, is it going to be...
They're not doing anything.
It's a long season.
Maybe they fire Lindy.
I don't know about that.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else it would be. What are they going to do?
But these are
They're going to make some blockbuster trade in November. Like you said, they've not done anything like that even when... I mean, the 10-game win streak was really the time to do something like that, right after it. But 13-game losing streak, admitting after that they should have done something. But what's that something going to be? They're going to go trade for someone's third liner? Like, it's not going to be enough that moves the meter here. Boston maybe could do something dramatic, and I could believe that they could accomplish that. I'd have more confidence they could. So
Justin writes in, I'm ready for year 7 of Adams telling us the team needs to be tougher to play against and we don't have enough palm trees in Buffalo. The tougher to play against thing, that's something worth keying in on. Like, if you just kind of step back, they were 1 point out of the playoffs and said, now is our time. And their ads flopped.
Yep.
And they said,
right, they're gone now.
I know what needs to happen, accountability and tougher to play against. They hired a coach. Accountability, okay.
Yep.
The tougher to play against line, that fourth line they brought in, 2/3 of it's gone after 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And they are saying they need to be tougher to play against again.
Right.
Like, it's the third offseason since being 1 point out of the playoffs. And if you read anybody, I just read Matt Larkin Daily Faceoff. He talks about them like they're a hopeless franchise. They were 1 point out of the playoffs 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Bold moves at that point might have made a difference. Instead, it was what? Connor Clifton and
Eric Johnson.
Anyway, offer your first. Would they have even considered offering next year's unprotected first at any point in this offseason? Any trade along the way? Purka, and an unprotected first. Would they have ever considered it?
I don't think they would have, because I think
it's probably the most valuable thing to have.
What are GMs in? Why do you never get top 10 trades in the NHL? How come first and second overall picks, even when the positional stuff makes sense, teams never trade? Because NHL GMs, maybe more than any other GMs in sports, they just don't want to get embarrassed, right? They just don't want to look like fools. And what would make you look like a fool more than any? You would be remembered in the sport forever. Not just here, but everywhere. If you were the GM in Buffalo with a 14-year playoff drought that traded the pick that ended up being like the superstar center number one.
Well, I just gotta ask you
I think every GM would be that thinks that that's in the realm of possibility. They could be that bad. Would be so afraid of that circumstance, that outcome, that they wouldn't even discuss trading that pick.
But this is a great example of fearing risk more than actually valuing reward. When you say 1% chance or whatever, what would the chance be? You can only go up
3%.
You can only
3% is the lowest you can have while being in the lottery.
You can only go up 10 spots.
Right.
So if you finish 12, 13, 14, 15,
right.
It's done. You're not going to lose
you're
Gavin McKenna on that pick.
Right.
So a 3% chance. Oh, I could never.
Right, it's not even to make the playoffs. It's be close to the playoffs, basically.
You just have to be close.
Yeah, be close.
I could never part with a 3% chance. And then if I offer you the Byram scenario, all right, a bad team offer sheets him, and where you project him the standings is a 9% increase. Would you take that?
I guess the thing is that it would do is it would force the desperation that a lot of us want to see them have, wouldn't it? Like, because imagine they did it. Adams trades their unprotected first for next year, for whatever it is, and the season starts poorly. Like, they're a month in, they're 2 months in, and it's not going well, and they don't have their first-round pick. Isn't the GM running around with his hair on fire looking to make every trade he can to make the team better? Which is how we kind of want them to act. This would kind of force them into acting that way if they don't have a safety net.
8030550.
Maybe I'm a little more into it than I thought I was.
Listen, if nothing else, I think it's a compelling conversation about the Sabres. And it represents no stone unturned. What can you possibly do?
Right.
8030550. All right. We'll get a break in. You can give us a ring if you want. Jeremy and Joe on a beautiful Wednesday here on WGR. The signing of Alex Lyon is fine. He's new Reimer. He's young Reimer. A guy that's making less than $2 million for 2 years. That's not going to get in Devin Levi's way if Levi's good. And he might be the kind of backup / 1B guy that gives you reasonable saves. He could also take over the job the way that Reimer and Craig Anderson have done. And if he does that, instead of talking retirement, he's just on the team for another year. So I think that's a fine signing. And then from there, they extended McLeod, got him at a good number.
Yeah.
How are they near the cap if they sign Byram when I've got teams out there like Vegas signing Marner to 12? Is it because they extended their own guys to numbers they don't really deserve?
I think it's we've kind of mentioned this about the Bills, haven't we? Like, they have a lot of those middle contracts. Like, I was looking at this morning, like comparing the Sabres to other teams. I'm like, they don't have. They've won. They have Dahlin as the big contract, like $10+ million per year. Dahlin makes 11, but guys that make 4+, like they have more guys that make 4+ than a lot of teams, more than like Toronto and Edmonton and like a lot of these high spending teams that have superstars, because the Sabres don't really have. They only have the one. They have Dahlin, who makes 11. Tage doesn't get that number because he signed really early. So what am I left with? I'm left with 6 forwards that all make $4 million+. Greenway, Tuck, Zucker, McLeod, Tage, Norris. Like, it's like the Bills at receiver.
They're not saving money. Right?
I'm not spending. I don't have a $35 million receiver contract, but I've got 4 $10 million contracts. Which they are, there's two things happening with them right now that are a little bit curious. One, how close are they actually going to be to the salary cap? Because right now they're at $12.8 million.
Away from the cap?
Away from the cap. And RFA's left to sign Byram, Timmins, Levi. They could trade Byram for some guy who makes $2 million a year or draft picks, and then you're still $6-7 million below the cap. But if I saw yesterday that Byram's projected contract is like $7.2 million on like a 2-year deal. If they sign Byram to something around $7 million, and then Levi and Timmins get a $1 million or $2 million each, I mean, they're gonna be up against the cap if they either pay Byram or get someone that makes the equivalent of Bo Byram. Unless, like, will they dump Samuelson? Will they clear space somewhere else because they're not going to be a cap team this year? Because I'm just looking at it like they're going to end up there. If they do the status quo, they're probably going to end up $1 million or $2 million from the cap.
Yeah.
Which is way closer to it than they ever have been.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. The first actually kind of time I saw it on someone was on my son. So me and my wife in our hotel room put it on him, and it was just a really special moment. It's a jersey that I wore with the London Knights for the 3 years there and had great success with it and really enjoyed the number. And my dad was a big Dougie Gilmore fan growing up, and then I, luckily enough, got to watch some great highlight clips of him. And he was a little guy at the time and was just a little buzzsaw out there that really kind of annoyed people out there. And from that moment on, I wanted to wear 93.
Mitch Marner on his number 93, which he wore with the London Knights. Now he's with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. Happy Wednesday.
Saw him play for the London Knights.
You did? I never saw him
One of
play.
the McDavid Erie games we went to, we used to try to pick the most interesting opponent. I think London... I don't think we picked it because of him, though. I think Zadorov was there, and the Sabres had drafted him.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, the Sabres picked him, and they've got a couple guys who will be first-round picks. So I think Zadorov, Marner, maybe Max Domi is on that team, too. There were a couple guys that have made the league.
So Gavin McKenna plays for Medicine Hat, but
yes.
He's going to go to Michigan State?
Yes, I knew he was going to play college hockey. I didn't know it was Michigan State, but...
I mean, they hosted him for a visit. Penn State, Michigan State.
Okay. Good. I'll be on TV more.
Yeah.
Are we going to be doing the thing if they're really bad to start the year? Could it get to that point?
Listen, that's
I think
why...
it could. There's not two guys this year, though. So
It's said to be whatever. I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
Yeah,
Stop.
you were about
Stop.
to.
It's
You were
July-
about. You were just rolling. You were ready
It's
to go.
July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Not going to do
Well,
it.
there's nothing else going on.
Not going to do it. Let's talk about.
What's more likely? They win the well, no, because I can't guarantee you they're going to be last. And you would also say their playoff odds are higher than 20% right now?
Ooh, I don't know.
No?
I don't know. Not much higher. If they're higher, they're not much higher. They missed by a lot. And they got hot at the end. And they got hot at the end because James Reimer stole games.
Right.
I mean, they were not really a better team down the stretch. They got hot at the end to get a respectable 79.
That's right. It's just odd. It would be odd to see them make it the way they're planning to, right? Like the way they've gotten close. Well, they only got close the one time. But the thing they were good at last year and the thing that they got close to making it with a couple years ago was scoring and offense. They've shown this commitment to being better defensively and being harder to play against, but have we ever really seen any evidence of it? Like, they could be better at it this year, but are they going to be so good at all that that's going to get them to the playoffs? That's two different things. It's one thing to just be better in your own end, be more responsible, and be tougher to play against. It's one thing to be better at all that. It's another thing to be like the best team in the league at it. Because if that's your blueprint to making it, you better be unbelievable at that kind of stuff. You better be the Islanders, right?
Yeah.
And they don't even make it every year doing that.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us.
The Sabres are minus 400 to miss the playoffs, so your 20% might be about right.
Okay.
I think it's about 20%. Maybe they'll sign Ehlers.
You ready for Gavin McKenna to go to Pittsburgh? They'll just fix it.
No.
Fix it.
Why? No, I don't want that. Terrible. That might be worse than Boston. No, it might not be worse than Boston.
We've got to stop. I have to stop talking about
you brought him up
next year's NHL draft.
Well, Pittsburgh's doing weird things, right? Like, because they're keeping Crosby and they're going to let Malkin walk and they're trading veterans for young players. Like, I don't really know what their plan of attack here is. Maybe Dubas wants to go to the bottom, but he also isn't allowed to trade Crosby because that's probably above him, isn't it? It's probably an ownership decision. So is he doing both? I'm keeping Crosby, but I'm also trying to rebuild here.
Yeah.
That's why they should just trade Crosby, which there were rumors about over the weekend.
Where would he go?
Edmonton with McDavid. The two teams that always get mentioned whenever there's any rumor is Colorado, because he's great friends with Nathan McKinnon and they're ready to win right now. Like, that'd be a place to go win another cup. And then the other place is Montreal, just because it's closest to home for him. And they're also on the way up, you could argue. So those are the two teams that I always see for him.
Fair enough. 803-0550. So, what else? Rashad Bateman said he was almost traded to the Cowboys.
Okay. Before he signed his extension?
Yeah. Bateman, a report in Mesa, the Cowboys looked into trading for Rashad Bateman, and he confirmed that. He's thankful that he worked things out with the GM, Eric DaCosta.
Okay.
So that's a little something that came out. Lamar said he wants to be more of a vocal leader this year. I'm at ProFootballTalk.com, just like cruising through some NFL headlines.
I think I had this interaction earlier on Twitter. Marcus Mosher, we've had on the show. Locked On Cowboys. He covers a bunch of stuff. Locked On Dynasty Fantasy Football, 33rd Team. He tweeted out a question an hour ago. Would the Bills be favorites in the AFC if they had taken Xavier Worthy over Keon Coleman?
It's a strange question to ask.
Do you know part of why it's a strange question to ask? And he didn't know this. I tweeted back at him, and now he realized. The Bills are right now the favorites in the AFC.
Yeah.
By the betting odds, at least. They are favored over Baltimore and over Kansas City.
Perhaps the better question is, would they be whatever. We don't have to they're already favorites.
They're already They're already favorites. Right. So that's right. That's where the question kind of dies immediately. But like he was surprised by that. I wonder how many people would know right now that they are the favorites. They are the Super Bowl favorites and the AFC favorites right now.
Favored in every game.
And they're favored in every game. Like, they are as favored as it gets. It really is basically the same as it was 3 years ago, whatever year it is they signed Vaughn. They signed Vaughn, and they're the consensus pick. Maybe they won't be the consensus pick. If you turn on NFL Network or ESPN in a month, and they're doing Super Bowl picks, maybe they're not all taking the Bills like they were 3 years ago. But they are the favorites. Everywhere.
One small note that every day it remains true is kind of stunning. Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, Von Miller.
Nothing.
It's kind of amazing.
It is a little crazy.
If you want to tell me the Bills are going to be a better team than last year, that's one of the first things you can say where I would be like, yeah. I mean, I think they'll be just as good as they were last year. They should be favorites. A lot of the noise about receivers, about an argument that is actually not being had about a number one, they got better at receiver.
Right.
And one of the guys that left that we thought was their last-minute true number one, isn't on a team.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Could their pass rush be better? Vaughn's not on a team.
Right.
Could Max Harrison be better? Douglas is not on a team. The 3 spots you might want to improve the most at the end of the season, the guys that left are unemployed. And it's kind of every couple days I just arrive at, none of those guys has a job. 3 weeks till camp. They got to wait for somebody to get hurt.
Could it all be the same reason? Are they all
asking for more than they deserve? I don't know. Elijah Moore signed for $5 million with some bonuses include get it up to $5 million. What does Cooper think he's going to get?
I know that's a good question because how that year went for him. I mean, he was coming off of at 29 years old, not ancient, but at 29 years old, he's coming off a 72 catch, 1,200-yard season with 5 touchdowns. Isn't he thinking, I just got to have a decent year, and I'm getting paid. I'm getting a big contract in a year. I mean, how when they traded for him, I remember talking about him as though, like, man, if they re-sign him, they could re-sign him for what number would we have thrown out there? 20 million? 25 million? I remember wondering about the franchise tag.
Yeah, I mean,
And obviously, it never got close to that level of play where you could have thought, oh, they should use the franchise tag on Amari Cooper. But that's where my expectation was for him is they got a guy who should get $20 to $30 million at wide receiver. And if it's not from the Bills, it'll be from somebody. And his year was that bad, I guess, that everybody just thinks he's cooked. Because if he hit the open market a year ago, what does he get? Does he get $25 million?
I bet he gets 19, 20. He's just the age would probably keep it low.
So maybe he is stubborn about that and saying, he's probably not asking for 20, but is he asking for, what did Beckham get from Baltimore when he went there a couple years ago?
He got 15.
15.
Yeah.
But he that was late. There was no market for him. Nobody wanted to sign him, and eventually he found one team that would give him 15.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of the things we kind of make this point about the Bills and receivers. Wide receivers, there's not a lot of middle-class players. Right. It's guys that make 20-plus and then young guys. And the Bills have some middle-class guys. Shakir is decent money, but not crazy. And, I mean, Palmer and Samuel are both middle-class contracts. There just aren't a lot of those in the NFL. So Cooper might even think, sure, fine, 15. That's a middle-class NFL receiver contract.
Right.
And teams think, like, what?
That's not.
Why wouldn't I just get a guy for cheap? You're not good enough to go big, and I got young guys for cheap. There was a bunch of receivers in this draft that went deep. The depth in the draft is supposed to be good. So,
and
go ahead.
I was going to say the thing about Beckham that happened for him was Lamar signed, and that was a Lamar move. He wanted them to sign Beckham.
Yeah.
And Cooper might need that. Cooper might need some quarterback out there to tell his team, go get me Amari Cooper.
And
what does he want? He wants $14 million. Go give him $14 million.
And you know who would get that done if he wanted it done would be Josh Allen, and it did not get done.
That's right.
They went for Josh Palmer instead. Right? If Allen wants Cooper, he's here.
Right, and he's not. Yeah.
803-0550. 1-888-550-2550. Extendo Sports, and then the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show coming up here on WGR. But the other NFL note is, file this one under you'll love to see it, Joe. At NFL.com, Chad Ryder.
Yep.
NFL.com writer. He has a 7-round super draft of active NFL players.
Okay.
So, click what is every Bills fan clicking to see?
Who they end up with at quarterback.
Who the Bills end up with quarterback?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, where Josh Allen goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Josh Allen go, according to Chad Ryder, in an NFL super draft? He basically just used this last year's draft order. Titans, number 1 pick. They take?
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Number 1?
Which is another way to say, here's one more person saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in the NFL. Mahomes, 2.
Okay.
Lamar, 3. And on it goes for a full 7-round snake draft.
That is some effort right there.
That the Sabres have not yet replaced J.J. Purka, and there's a question, will they? Will they replace Purka? Purka scored a bunch of goals, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals. Do they think they scored all those goals and they missed the playoffs? They need 7 more wins without those goals.
Right.
And that comes in the form of just being better defensively, a better structure.
I think it has to be that, or it could be this guy Lyon's going to give them more saves than they've had before.
Your backup goalie, he's still probably your backup.
Maybe. I mean,
he's going to give you how many more? Here's the problem. He's going to give you how many more wins? Reimer gave you wins.
Reimer
was not the problem. You need Luukkonen to not be the problem.
He started 43 games 2 years ago for Detroit. So is that in the range of outcomes for them? Is that he starts almost exactly half or maybe just a couple of more than Luukkonen? I mean, Levi probably gets a couple over the course of the year, too, so maybe it's neither of them get to 41, which is the half point. So I think it's possible. I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers on these guys. The last 3 years, goals saved above expected out of 97 goalies that qualified. Lyon ranks 32nd, and Luukkonen ranks 57th. So, Luukkonen's younger, and you could say more talented because he was drafted higher, and he is bigger by 5 inches maybe. But, statistically, Lyon has been a better goaltender. So, he can't beat out Luukkonen to be this team's number 1 goalie?
If he could, he would have gotten more than he got on the open market. No?
I'm not. That's right.
If there was belief that he was going to do that, he'd have gotten more money.
But then that's also a belief that Luukkonen's actually a $5 million goaltender.
All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday. The Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show is coming up. See if anything in my notes that I didn't get to that I meant to get to today. No.
Nothing?
No. Well, I keep a lot of my stuff. I use Twitter likes often.
That's like your bookmark folder.
Like you
almost.
should use bookmarks. I'll just click a like and be like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll go and I'll check that later and see what I can find.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thought I had. This is a great finishing topic that we didn't get into and really kind of won't. We danced around it earlier. All the do something Darcy tweets had me thinking, would fans rather have Darcy Regier as the GM? I had that thought. Not going to really bring that up, though. That's all.
I mean,
it's in my likes.
I mean, maybe I'll do this on like the Locked On Sabres account. If I put a poll up right now, pick your GM. You got to pick one of the four to go to war with. Pick your GM: Darcy, Murray, Botterill, Adams. Who would people pick?
At the bottom?
No, like
who's the?
You got to pick one. Who are you picking? Darcy, Murray, Botterill, or Adams? Who would people side with? Who's got the highest approval rating of the four right now?
Murray.
You think it's Murray?
It's Murray or Darcy.
It's because Murray at least made trades that made you feel something, right? At the start, at least.
Yeah, I mean he had a bold plan and he executed it. Darcy was always working with constraints.
His blue line just stunk.
Constraints and came through. Botterill was the worst. I mean, Botterill's,
Yep. No.
Anyway.
And yet he's the one that got a second crack at it. How about that?
Yeah.
His family's in hockey. I mean, that's
right.
Really, that's the reason. His family is in hockey. That's why he's getting a second job.
We're back tomorrow, 6 a.m. bright and early. Have a good day today. Cheers.